we're going to basically change the way we work rather than whether we work or not.
People start to question privacy, right? And then how do you deal with privacy? You host it yourself.
The lower the interest rate, the lower the unemployment.
The truth is people still need people. Maybe some people will be replaced, but they'll still be productive to society. They'll still find their way.
The jobs are being created based also on demand and supply.
Am I becoming dumber to the point where I'm just a monkey?
I can do now more in 1 hour than I could do before this tool came in.
Because we have AI, automatically you're supposed to cost cheaper, deliver faster.
You always have winners and losers.
Your freedom of speech is directly correlated to your insignificance.
In any country, you can say whatever you want as long as you're nobody.
When I look at my younger self, I sometimes feel like I need more of that energy back.
What is really important when change happens is that you maintain your ability to change.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of VUnstaged, the After Hours edition. And this one is a special one because I have invited a very old friend of mine, somebody I met a really long time ago. And if you know anything about Moldova, is typically when you have holidays, people come back, and I took the opportunity of people coming back and I snatched one of my friends. It's been such a while, a lot of time have passed, a lot of updates in both of our personal lives and career lives and whatnot. So I'm really keen and looking forward to catch up on everything. But before we dive into all the nitty-gritty and details, for those who don't know you, if you can tell us your name, what do you do for a living, and of course I ask this everyone, how did you get into tech? Because everyone got their interesting story. And then we can talk about how we met, because that's also funny.
For those who do not know me, first of all, nobody knows me. I'm nobody.
I mean, come on. Let's
to tell you the truth, this is my official nickname where I work. It's Mr. Nobody.
Yeah,
And
I know
I
a Mr. Nobody from like what was the name of the movie? Like the Fast and Furious.
Yeah, no, really, okay. There is another movie called Mr. Nobody that I liked. I forgot the
Okay, Mr. Nobody, if you can share your name, what do you do for a living?
My
and
name
your
is
story.
Adrian.
Yeah.
I'm from Moldova. I was born here in Chisinau on the 47th degree latitude in that hospital. So yeah, I'm from here. And I've been living on that 47th latitude actually through all my life. It doesn't matter where I go, it's still more or less 47 plus or minus 1 degree. That's like a coincidence I just found out recently. Anyhow, so how did I get into tech? I don't know if I have got into tech or tech has got into me. Now you have to look at have the same problem from different sides. But I've been, kind of programming since high school.
You can take the dog out of a fight, but you can never take the fight out of a dog.
Exactly. I think it's the same with programming. And it didn't really help that my mom is also a software engineer, right? Or at least she was a software engineer.
Yeah.
That's basically
your mom is a software engineer?
Yes.
Were you exposed to software engineering from the very early childhood, you could say?
Yes. I also did some, I don't know how to say that in English. Olympiadi de informatica, right? Like computer science.
It's Olympiads.
Yeah. Olympiads, right?
Yeah.
Or competitions and stuff. So I did participate with those. But back then, I didn't really know economics, right? So I didn't really know the theory of relative advantages.
What's that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, in everyday life, we are human beings, and we usually compare ourselves with, in absolute terms. Am I better than somebody in something? Am I the best in some field or whatever? And when I competed, in this computer science things where you basically needed to know data structures and algorithm stuff.
Yeah.
I had a colleague from the young school of mathematicians and computer scientists who was at the State University of Moldova. Over there, I met a lot of really bright people. And of course, they were much, much better than me. I remember one guy who was living in a village. He didn't really do much all day, just he was studying, math.
Yeah.
Math. He was really brilliant in math. I remember one of the math professors teaching some linear algebra, and none of us knew what the hell was going on over there. And he looked, he wasn't writing anything, he wasn't like, he was just thinking. And then he said, "Oh, I don't really think that's the right answer." To which the professor said, "Okay, you can come to the blackboard and show us."
Yeah.
He went, he wrote something over there. All of us, and by the way, all of us, I mean, all of the mathematicians, later to be mathematicians, we were astounded, we were mesmerized by what he was writing over there. Can't say that that I understood everything, but I can't say that I didn't understand anything either.
I don't know, man. Like,
what I knew is that he was actually right.
Yeah.
And the professor admitted, "Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong." And he was, I don't know, like the 7th grade or 8th grade. And
so was this at university or at high school?
this was at the State University of Moldova, but they had a small group for
Yeah.
young people who just had the curiosity in mathematics and computer science. And of course, we didn't really go over there for the mathematics when we were kids. Nobody really likes mathematics when they're young.
Yeah.
The thing you get to like when you start.
I would
eating
argue
it.
it's even the case when you're like, because I remember the math classes at university, like, dude, like if you go to high school and you think math is hard, then you should go to university and you realize quickly that it's no longer numbers, it's fucking letters across the board.
I don't know. It's letters.
It's
This
like
math
you're
is,
looking
so
at the
huge.
blackboard. You're looking at the blackboard, and it's just you can't distinguish numbers and letters because it's so many formulas and everything is so fucking abstract that you can't really make sense of it. But I guess you have
Math
to.
is abstract.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But yeah, it depends what type of math. You also have applied mathematics.
So was
something
your
that I like.
exposure to programming from university or
No,
was
from
it-
high school. I think it was from high school. I think my mom had a huge influence. My neighbors were software engineers.
Yeah.
I never had a computer when I was young because my parents were poor. They couldn't afford a computer. And I didn't really know the theory of relative advantages of David Ricardo, right? I only knew I was thinking in terms of absolute advantages. That's why I said, okay, computer science is not for me. I'm just not too good enough for that.
Yeah.
That's why I never went to study
Nobody is.
computer science.
Yeah, nobody is. That's the
I
funny
felt
thing.
like, I'm too stupid for that, so I'm going to go and study math instead.
That's how I
That was a
actually.
joke, but
That's how I actually remember you, to be honest, because I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was a program called Academy Plus, where is how I met you, and that's exactly what we were doing. There was like
no, we didn't meet at the.
was it Academy Plus or was the hackathon?
No, that was the school from School 42.
Yeah, it was a. I'm not
But
exactly
we
sure.
met-
Was it the hackathon where we met or the academy?
It was at the hackathon that we
Okay,
met.
so how we met? That's like a really funny
Yeah,
story.
do you remember how we met?
It's really funny. I'll
Yes,
I'll
okay.
maybe. Do you want to explain or
No, you go ahead.
Yeah,
I
so-
want to hear your version.
Yeah, so my version of it is obviously me and my brother were students and we were just looking for ways to making into, because that's how you would try to make waves into the IT world back in the day. You like try to promote yourself, try to show off a little bit, try to go hackathons and whatnot, and then maybe some company will hire me. That was the thought at the time, right? Not sure to what extent it's available nowadays, but that was the thought. So we I think there was like a hackathon. It was called Hack Corruption or whatever.
Yes.
So basically, they were trying to I don't know, solve problems for trying to combat corruption and whatnot. The beneficiaries, I think, were like governmental institutions and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were supposed to develop in the end a product for, was it the National Center of Anti-Corruption?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Anti-corruption.
yeah. So long story short, yeah, I pitched my idea. It was called Cobot. Was funny enough because it came to my mind like the last minute. So basically, before the fucking AI boom even existed, I don't even know how many years ago. I think it's quite a lot of years ago. So I pitched this idea. It was some fucking chatbot that was supposed to detect whether you're.
You basically told them that you want to create what is currently ChatGPT.
Yeah, but
It's just ChatGPT didn't exist back then.
but more like for corruption.
Yes.
And how we met, back to that story. Nobody was approaching us except for some fucking product manager or whatever. Like nobody needs product managers when it comes to like hackathons. People need fucking engineers, right? So nobody was approaching us. It was me, my brother, and then you come over and you're like laughing it over. You say it's fucking impossible to do, but the idea sounds interesting, and that's how you joined the startup.
That's exactly more or less.
Yeah, and then there was another guy called Cornell. That was the geek. That was the guy who was behind the implementation.
Was the hacker. Yeah.
He was like, he's a real hacker. I'll admit, he's like so fucking brilliant. But at the same time, he suffers from the same issue most developers suffer, which is the imposter syndrome. Like he would fucking commit, like he would hold NASA on his shoulders, but he would never admit that. That's how humble he is. Anyway, we had this hacker in our team. It was me, my brother, the hacker, and yourself. And then we started tinkering with some shit called Bayesian.
Bayesian, yes.
Yeah, Bayesian. Some Bayesian type of thing, where basically the idea was simple. We give him like a phrase, a text. It gives us back some kind of what was it called? It was based on some number.
Yes.
And at the time,
it was an AI model.
Yeah.
It was
stupid,
based on the idea of Markov chains.
Yeah, it was a stupid prediction model. Basically, it gave us back a number, and then based on that number, we were like able to tell whether this is a corruption case or not.
Yeah, so the way the model works, from what I remember, and there were reasons why we chose that model, if you remember, why we chose Bayesian thing. And we made it like a double engine Bayesian.
Yeah.
Where one would, correct the other. But the kernel of the model was that we were trying to predict a word based on the previous word.
Yeah.
Well, let me give you a question. How do you think the current LLM works?
It's the same machine, except it's more complex.
It's the exact same thing.
But basically,
what you did back then.
Basically, you have like text, which gets translated into vectors, which then gets matched along
we
a
did
database
the exact same thing. It was a vector.
It was way
more, a vector. Of course,
way more primitive.
We didn't really have like a huge vector, right? But the reason why we ended up with the Bayesian model was because we didn't really have any data to train it on.
Right? I still remember the time when
we were constrained.
We were running out of time, and I was doing.
And we had only 2 days to develop it. Right?
Not even 2 days. It was even less than that. And I was fucking doing authentication in Laravel because I was just picking up.
You're the backend developer. I remember you were the backend.
And I remember there was
PHP. Yes.
And I remember there was a guy next to me, and he was like, "You guys fucking work on authentication at the hackathon when everybody's trying to push like novelty and stuff." It was so funny.
Yeah, but it was kind of novel, and I think you were back then the envisioner. You had the vision that.
I'll be all the way honest. I was just there for the money.
I wasn't really for the money back then. I was just trying, to be useful. I went to every team to say, "Hey, do you need somebody over there? I can just do whatever." Like
no, but the grant prize was quite big. Like it was $10,000.
Yes,
and when you were a student in Moldova about 10 years ago,
even now $10,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, but like when you're a student,
I can't believe we won it.
Yeah, I can still believe we actually were granted the prize. And obviously, when you're a student, you barely have like money to pay your bills. This is a huge amount of money. And not to mention the fact that when you go back to university, everybody is like having their Asus laptop, shitty laptop to say the least.
I still have
and you show up with a MacBook, you're the cool guy.
Yeah, that's another way of saying how to make vanity work. But yeah, I still have that laptop. I found it when I just came home.
Is that
like,
a souvenir?
and it still had that sticker on it, hack corruption. It was kind of cool. But yeah, there was a nice period, though, I would say, of life.
Was the academy after the hackathon?
Yes, the academy was after the hackathon, where we went and we started basically, doing a little bit of data structures and a lot of fun.
It was C 101, yeah.
Yes,
it was C, Linux.
C. We were not even allowed to use like the standard libraries, right? Like
standard
standard input output. We were not allowed to. You had to write our own printlns. We had to write our own
Yeah, you had to.
sequences.
You were
our
not
own
allowed to
libraries.
import any header files,
I
basically.
still think that was one of the best type of like method how somebody should be learning programming. Although the methodology of it was a little bit too harsh.
It was harsh. I mean, it was called the pool, if you remember.
Yes.
So
yes,
they had this
simple.
idea that they throw in like a pool of cold water, and only the ones who survive will go to
I
the
think
next
that's-
stage and shit.
This is the part where I don't really agree, because I don't see programming as something like of an elitist thing. I think everyone can
I
do
mean,
it.
I liked the idea of kind of survival games of sorts, where people who, like, only the people who got the guts, the motivation, and the grit survived mentally. First of all, it was a mental game, because not only you were supposed to do challenges every day, you were supposed to get approval from other peers, and they also had this stupid automated bot. You would like git push your solution, and you would check your fucking formatting, and if the formatting even was out of scope, you would just invalidate your solution, and you would get 0 points for that day.
The worst of the game.
Like the solution was fucking correct, but the formatter would just complain.
Yes, I think you're talking about like the first days of the pools, where they would give you like a picture where they would say, "This is what we expect from you."
Yeah. Figure out the solution.
And yeah, exactly. You just have to figure out solution. And the lesson that I learned over there, that you have to be attentive to details, like to be careful of details that they put, because I remember I didn't change the date.
Yeah.
You had to basically figure out, oh, they want me to change the date of the file so that it coincides with whatever I see in the picture. And these types of things, and including in like real work, right?
I remember
Nobody tells you about some small things, about some details that you as a programmer would have to figure out yourself.
Yeah, but we would run a collective psyop. Basically, we would have like a clan of people.
Yes.
And we would split it into days. So in one day, somebody would first submit their solution, so we can see what are the
Yes.
fuck ups.
Yeah,
the
that was
next
kinda
day,
cheating.
the
Yes,
next day, somebody else would submit the solution first, so that
Yeah.
he can get either approved or rejected.
Yeah, what I can tell you that, from all the countries that I lived in,
Yeah.
we're very creative of how to, break the system here.
Oh yeah.
We were like kind of not punished enough in high school for cheating.
Oh
And
yeah.
we took cheating to next level.
I mean, we're Moldovans. We always find ways around the system. I'll be like, there's no system we can break. I'll say that.
That's a little bit of hubris. I know a system you can't break. The one that I'm making at a big bank in a Swiss bank.
That's what they all
That thing
say.
you cannot break.
That's what they all say.
Only I know how to break that. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. About software, software is always imperfect, and you give it to Moldovans, it's gonna get cracked easily.
Let's go back a little bit in time.
Yeah.
Back when we were doing, this Academy 42, School 42, whatever.
Yeah.
If you look at the economic station of Moldova and stuff, and the human capital, I can say that the Moldovans are the best software engineers in the world.
I would argue we're quite talented.
Now
yeah.
I think it's getting better and better. Back then, we were cheap labor.
I
we-
would
back
on
then,
on that, I would tell you this: we're still suffering. Like, we're China in the beginning, if you know what I mean. So China now is in the state where they can manufacture their own products, and they're quite good. Back in the day, China was the labor producing the basically products for companies like Apple and whatnot. They were just the cheap labor. They're still the cheap labor, but they already make their own stuff, which is cheap and good. We, on the contrary, like, people come to Eastern Europe looking for software engineers because they're cheap, right?
yes, and
the
there was
problem
some
is-
type of specific jobs back then, at least 15 to
Yeah, but
20
the problem
years ago.
is we don't have a lot of product companies in the country, because people come in here, they say we need this many developers because they're cheap. They develop the product and they say fuck off, we'll hire our own people to maintain the product. And now what they basically got is a product which is developed, It's handed off to some, I don't know, to the owner. The owner then decides who's going to maintain the product. And in the process, you basically just outsource the hard part, and then you maintain and try to grow the product in a way. And the product never stays in the country; it leaves the country.
That's basically what the differences between active and passive loan is, right? You got it perfectly. I mean, the product never stays here in the country because we don't have a market for it.
True.
We have a relative advantage at producing cheaper at a certain quality than, let's say, other countries. 20 years ago, definitely we were very cheap. You could get a very good deal with software engineers.
Yeah.
Then Moldovan software engineers got to be a little bit more and more expensive by year. I remember in 2017, 2018, we had like growths of 20, 30, 40% per year.
Is that a bad thing though?
That's definitely not a bad thing. And
Yeah.
this is basically where we got, I started, getting the experience of not just doing the work that, let's say, a simple developer would do, like, here's the technical thing that we would like to achieve. Could you please write the code, right?
Yeah.
Something like that at the moment ChatGPT can do. If you are very precise and telling exactly what you want to do, how you want to do it, with which technologies you want to do it. ChatGPT or Sonnet or whatever, they pretty much can do the development for you. Of course, it's not perfect, but it's more or less the same LLM model that we did with Cobot. And you know Cobot better than anyone else, how far off it was sometimes, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was
the same.
I remember the times when you go to the Center of Anti-Corruption, you were
Yes.
we were supposed to demo the product
Yes.
every once in a while. And we would go there, and I remember those times when you would just demo the product. It wouldn't work as expected, obviously, because the results would be unpredictable. And they would just like, and you would make a joke out of it, like, hey, it's not always working and stuff. And you're
Yes.
trying to explain how
But come on, I mean,
NLP works.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that was a fun product. I mean, that's why it was so interesting. That's why it kept us going, in programming for like nights, because it was
Yeah.
an interesting product as a design, as a concept. You don't really, I mean, it really depends what you look at, what you want to achieve, right? Did we really want to achieve a product that would make like zero mistakes? Sure, that would have been nice, but I think it was the journey itself.
Yeah, the reality at the time was we all had our
How do
jobs.
we integrate? Yeah, how did we integrate the front end that Julian was doing, the back end that he was doing, with the algorithm that whatever way, my mind was thinking back then. How do you integrate everything? How do you make something that
And AI was quite experimental at the time.
yes, and
Yeah.
since we did it in like 2 days, basically seemed like the sky's the limit now. You can change PHP to something like better, which back then was Java. Today
I
would
remember
probably
the time,
be Rust.
like we gathered at your home.
Yes,
and we were supposed to develop the product. But all we did is all night debate why Java is better than PHP.
exactly, and this is where we want to that to the problems that usually software engineers go. Over engineering, trying to make it as good as possible, try to make it as perfect as possible. It's basically the same problem that Siemens had. It was kind of like German culture, like, oh, it's no mistakes at all, it must be perfect on the first time, and then they failed.
Yeah, the trouble at the time is we had our jobs. I remember every one of us had jobs.
Yeah, it was basically
And
a
at the same
weekend
time,
job, right?
And at the same time, we had this startup going. And yeah, it was funny. I mean, I was there for money. It was a good deal for me. It was a fun experience. I'll say that.
Okay, I wasn't for money.
Yeah. And
But I really like the journey. This is basically when I first started taking Java seriously, when I said, okay, what would be the advantage of this versus that? And this is when I started, studying Java a little bit more in depth.
do you miss hackathons?
Yes, I do. I sometimes actually go to hackathons.
Are they organized?
We have some hackathons in my company. We had like one recently. It was a lot of fun. we nowadays hackathons are all about AI.
Yeah, it's almost like I want to vomit, to be honest, because you
Yeah,
go there
to
and
try.
it's impossible not to like try to go to a presentation, to a hackathon, to like a conference, like try to go any social event and not be confronted and people overshoving AI down your throat.
I think it's we again at that.
Like, yes, of course, it's cool and whatnot. I like everything it is. I like everything it gives you. In fact, I'm using it a lot myself. But at the same time, in the process of like, it's over marketing, if you know what I mean. Like, it gets so
Overhyped, yes.
absurd and overhyped to the point where you actually like start to dislike it in a way. I'm not sure if you like you go to technical events, you
Why do
want
you
to
think this is so? Why do you think we're in this station? Like
because of all these fucking experts out there, right? Because you like you open any social media platform, it's impossible for you to scroll without seeing posts, ads, and all kinds of experts. People telling you you're missing out on some shit. People telling you you were supposed to not use this anymore, but use this. People telling you that this model is obsolete, use this model. And all this hype and race for whoever's going to be the person who's going to sell you the fucking donuts. And in the process, you end up and all these fabulous results you can get with one prompt, and you try it yourself and it gives you a bunch of shit back. It's not even working as it's advertised. Like all of this, like I am thankful for what it is, right? I really love automation with AI, really love all these open source models like Llama, like Gemma and whatnot. I even have an AI server myself where I automate a bunch of like
that's cool.
most of the shorts you see on Instagram are automated with AI.
Which model do you use?
I'm using quite an arena of models, including Llama because it's quite fast. The new GPT OSS as well. It's really cool. I also have the web UI deployed where I can use my own AI privately, connect via VPN, use AI in my house without fucking sending data to OpenAI and whatnot. Like it's really cool. It's really powerful. But
You
at the
sound
same
like an
time,
enterprise, right? Because enterprise is basically this is what they want to achieve. They want to have the benefits of AI, but without sending
but this is
their
the
data
new
or the
I think
information.
this is the era where or not necessarily the era, but this is the next level stage of AI. Because we started with ChatGPT, right? And then a bunch of other companies like Anthropic, Mistral, and whatever, they came along, and everybody's racing for who's going to be the leader in AI, to the point where people start to question privacy, right? And then, how do you deal with privacy? You host it yourself, and now you have all these initiatives about the cloud exit. I'm not
To
sure if you're
tell you the
familiar.
truth, as Mr. Nobody, I have no such problem.
Which problem?
Privacy, since I'm nobody, right? But I do understand that some people might be concerned about the
It's not
privacy.
even just
Like
privacy.
let's think about it for a second, right? You have like a model that makes everything into a vector, right? And everything what you introduce over there is basically a vector, and you try to do the cosine similarity over there, and people are very concerned about the privacy now. What would my vector be?
I mean, when I say privacy, I guess it very much depends on the business model you're trying to run, right? So if you're a company who, let's just say this data these days is becoming more and more valuable. It's like gold. If back in the day we were just collecting a bunch of data and we weren't utilizing data as like we weren't exploiting it as much as we do nowadays data is key. Like companies who have the biggest amount of data, they can sell it, they can target ads, they can do a bunch of stuff with data, and the more data you have, the better. And the truth about data is, if you're a company whose data is, let's say, critical, you want to store it but not share it, using all these AI models is not a guarantee that they don't fucking send your data somewhere else. And that's the problem I have.
Okay, it's an interesting point. So imagine you have big data. By big data, what is the volume of the data?
I mean, big data is like
something that doesn't.
It's a funny term because it depends on the scale of your business, right? Big data can be millions of records, but millions of records of what? Like, is it users? Is it
Exactly.
Is
So
it relations
first it
to those
depends
users?
how you define this
Yeah,
big
yeah.
data, right? Back then, when I was in university, big data was defined as something that cannot fit into your RAM. If you can fit everything into your RAM,
I mean, it's
that's not big. But yeah, you get the point. And then we
Yeah.
had this Spark project from, I think it was from the University of Chicago or whatever. It was resilience data structure, RDSs that they were putting, and then you would scale this data. Because once you have the data, that's the first part. The second part is basically how do you make sense of that data? How do you analyze it? And then when you need to analyze it, you need to basically scale and aggregate it. And this is basically a very good introduction when you have such a problem of this map, reduce, filter, and all these functional programming styles that we have at the moment, right? So, or I should say it from a different perspective, we have all these things because of big data. And yeah, there is another theory, right, that big data actually originated from the oil industry. At least this is what oil companies used to tell me, that, oh, we are the founders of big data. Why? Because they had one interesting problem to solve, and that problem was, is there oil over there or not? Given all this 3D seismic data or 2D seismic data that they had, you can also have a 3D. And you basically had a really low, like gigabytes of data. And the only question that you had to answer was, is there oil there or not? And this is like the $1 billion question. And it's still not solved, believe it or not. I mean, they got better at it, but from the context of AI, every AI has a context, and the better the context, the better the answers you would get generated. But again, all these answers that they are generated, they are basically made out of thin air based on the probabilities.
But that's not to say that when you try to get an answer generated, it saves some information about you. Let's say the context is the following. Hey, I have this CSV. Can you, I don't know, give me the, Java code and process it this way? And you've pasted some fucking real data in there.
Okay. And
what's the guarantee?
You're afraid that somebody would basically intercept your request?
Not necessarily. No, I'm not even worried about
and then how?
I'm not worried about man in the middle. I'm worried about the provider of that AI.
Okay.
If it's some open AI model or whatever. Like if I'm using any, let's say, paid
what if you just
API,
downloaded that AI model that is already pre-trained?
No, if it's offline, that's my point. If it's offline in your fucking server, in your closet, then that's cool. I know for a fact it's only going to give me generated answers and there's no request going out to the server. You can even go super crazy and Wireshark it and see if there's no packet sent from that model.
Okay.
That's not the point.
Like paranoid, but
it's not the point. The point is, given you have data, it depends what kind of data is sensitive, I guess, to your business, and you want to avoid sending your data to companies, especially if you have, let's say, like a medical project and whatnot, like more sensitive data, especially if you're dealing with the European Union.
So it's even crazier. About trust. Do you trust the company?
I mean, I don't trust anybody. That's the point.
And then what's the problem? Like, why is it that you cannot just make some synthetic data?
Right? I don't trust any company to handle my data with care.
Okay, but you can make synthetic data based on that thing that you have. So, for example, you can change your name, you can change whatever your gender. You can have like a small AI on your laptop.
Yeah.
That would, redo the data. Then you'd say, okay, could you please write me the Java code?
Yeah, but people are lazy.
XML?
People are lazy.
Okay.
They want immediate gratification, immediate results.
Well, this
as
is
a result, you're pasting actual data.
We're all human beings. Yeah. And some precautions, of course, you can take. There are solutions. And you're right. I mean, we want, with minimum effort, the biggest bang, right?
That's the whole marketing behind AI nowadays. You have a lot of companies, individuals, nobodies, excluding
nobodies, yes.
excluding yours, saying you'll be replaced, saying that this is so easy to do with AI, saying we no longer need these kind of people. We
I
should
do think,
cut
though, I do
people.
think that some jobs will be replaced by AI.
No, that's definitely true. Like
But
as
we
you
have that
said,
in economics all the time. What people are really afraid of is like, oh, if AI is going to replace my current job, will I have no job at all? And this is basically what our proclivity is to think about it,
yeah,
right?
we want to. I
But
don't
that's
know.
not true, because unemployment is not really based on technological advances that are done in real economy.
I would argue we live some kind of industrialization 2.0, right? Where
I would
initially people kind of raised against it, but then they slowly embraced it. But then as a result, they became more productive as a society, as nation.
exactly. We will
And you
be
have
just
new jobs. You have new kind of
exactly.
jobs, right? You no longer have blacksmiths, but you have people working at the factory.
Exactly.
Nowadays, maybe you won't have people working at the factory. Robots will do it for you, but
Think
instead,
about the switch.
exactly,
Think
yeah.
about the switch, I don't know, 30 years ago. No, maybe not 30, but let's say 40 years ago, where you had like all these women making switches whenever you wanted to make a phone call, right?
Yeah.
Menial jobs that, of course, they will be replaced. Right now with ChatGPT, they will replace a bit that are not so menial, right? But at the end of the day, we're going to basically change the way we work rather than whether we work or not.
I mean, there are people like Elon Musk who are firm believers in we reach a point of innovation slash technologization slash AI taking over the world that people will no longer need to have jobs and will have this thing called general person income where the government gives you like an income and you can just spend it and waste it left and right, and then you lose this like you don't need to fight your life to just fucking eat. Like a lot of countries out there still like fight for their survival basically. And like I get that point. At the same time, I think we need some kind of purpose in life. Like a lot of people find purpose in life by working, and like that's how a lot of engineers, I would say, they identify themselves through work. Like
Okay.
when you have like I'll be all the way honest, like when you have a discussion with engineers predominantly, because a lot of them are, let's say, introverts, uh, they suffer from the imposter syndrome. It's hard to have a conversation outside work with some people, predominantly engineers. And yeah, I mean, a lot of us pride ourselves by the fact that we're engineers and whatnot. And then you have AI, a lot of stuff is automated, and then coding becomes more of a commodity. Everybody can do it, even people who have no fucking clue. Like your manager comes to you and say, hey, you can actually do this with fucking LLM my way into the product, and ChatGPT says you can do it. Hey, go on, you know?
You've touched so many points, so many topics. We
Yeah.
could just discuss for endlessly. Whatever Elon Musk thinks, okay, he's a visionary and stuff. I don't know what I mean. It's basically he's dreaming about that. You would not have to work. Um, I don't know if I'll have to live to see that, because that idea is actually not new. It's been around for like more than half a century.
Yeah.
We had more or less the exact same models that they have with LLM 50 years ago. We had swarm intelligence, let's say, not even more advanced concepts from Bishop, a guy from UK, also like around, I don't know how old he is, but he's definitely older than us together, put together, multiplied by two maybe. Uh, yeah, so this is like, and they were predicting the exact same thing, that, we'll just have robots that will do everything for us. They will be able to write all the code for us. But there is, a fundamental problem here. From a mathematical perspective, there is no program that can detect whether it has an error or not.
I mean, that's, I guess, where this
We didn't
definition
really
of AGI comes in, right?
exactly, yeah. And
Yeah.
how do you define that thing? I mean, it's
To some, it's
if you
commercially
define it,
defined.
in very
Yeah.
strict terms, then not strict terms, but let's say too general, like, then we have already achieved AGI. I mean, somebody can say that. If you think like from a self-reflectory perspective, of course, we're not going to achieve that very anytime soon.
No,
But that's just my opinion. I don't know.
am
Maybe I'm wrong.
fascinated.
Hopefully, I'm wrong. I wish to be wrong. That we would not be needed, like to work at all. and the AI would be able to do everything. But at the moment, what I see is that if I have a task that I
Yeah.
want to do, and I want to, of course, achieve this gratification with as little effort as possible, I tell him the exact problem that I have. I even tell them the technologies. Let's give an example. Um, I do at the moment a little bit of code with non-blocking stuff, which is by the way nothing new. We've had non-blocking stuff in TCP over IP for like, I don't know, 50 plus years. No, not 50, 30 years now. And ChatGPT always knows the answers. No, it can give you the code, and you just look at it and say, "Oh my god, it actually makes sense."
Until
You
it
just
doesn't
take
work.
that thing, you put it, doesn't even compile. So
Yeah.
what are we talking about? Right?
Yeah.
But sometimes he is useful because your problem had been solved, probably by somebody else. That's what we had Stack Overflow before. Now we basically have a Stack Overflow on steroids, right, with ChatGPT. But you still need to look, you still need to copy and
You know what's
paste.
missing in it? It's like,
And then to realize that, oh my god, it's not compiled. What the
you know
hell is
what's
this?
missing in it? Like, it doesn't fucking know how to say I don't fucking know. Like,
But isn't
I
that
need,
the exact same problem?
like,
that
I need somebody to tell me you're actually fucked. There's actually no solution, instead of just the fucking psychologist who's gonna tell me always that my question is extremely amazing and there's always an answer to my question, even though it's a stupid one.
Steve, but you made Cobalt, right? Remember, that was basically one of the first questions in the audience. When they were basically suggesting us how to make it better, they told us, "Oh, I have an idea." It was a lady from the room. Why don't you just hard code in your model? Then, whenever your model doesn't know if it is a case of corruption,
Yeah.
then it just says, "I don't know." Well, that's not possible because we generate that answer, right?
Yeah.
Based on whatever things you have. So the model has absolutely no clue. It just has probabilities, right? And you have a threshold.
Yeah,
Or
that's
whatever.
the problem with probabilities. There always has to be one.
But even we as human beings, do we actually know when we really do not know something?
It's a philosophical question which I don't think we have the answer to. But at the same time, we know when we are stuck, right? We know that we
I
reached.
thought that's obvious. We usually have this, things.
Like,
If
I
have
know
clue about something, I say I don't know, but that's
Yeah.
a human thing. We still need to think, how do we translate that in mathematical terms to teach our models how to do that?
Yeah, maybe the version of, like, the human version of I do not know is AI's version of telling you maybe there's something of what I fucking know,
I don't know. I
which
haven't
might
thought
be
about
the
this
answer
problem.
of what you don't know. But this is the annoying and the frustrating thing for me personally, because it gives you hope and you think there is an answer when in reality there is no fucking answer and you're actually stuck. You're just gonna find out the hard way by trying every stupid suggestion which it gives you.
One way basically to square this problem would be that you would have, like a classification algorithm where I don't know is a classification in itself. But whenever you try to square this problem into these terms, you run into other problems. How do you define, the boundaries? How do you define when you get over there? And to tell you the truth, I don't really know. I would need to think about it. And yeah, I don't really know if I'll find any answer over there.
Yeah, no, I'm fascinated with the progress we've made with, like, when it comes to AI. And I've personally started using like Whisper plus my own deployed AI models, and it's just incredible what results you can pull out of it. As long as there's like one caveat, as long as you try to keep it somewhat probabilistic and somewhat, let's say, predictable / deterministic. Like, if you give it too much room for fantasy, it's
That's the
gonna it's
temperature,
gonna go
basically.
sideways, and you don't want that.
I
Like,
think it's called the temperature of the
True,
models.
true. Like, you want to have the temperature between 0 and maybe 0.4 or something. You don't
Okay.
want it to go above that because it's gonna fucking go hallucinate. And that's not what you want. Obviously, it depends on the context. If you're like writing novels and whatever, maybe you want it to fantasize. But if you want predictable results, you want to keep it as low as possible. And I really am thankful for that, right? Because it's saving me a lot of time when I'm automating. But at the same time, You look like social media, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of people telling you they're experts and telling you you're missing out on this new webinar which I'm running, and you're supposed to participate and you're supposed to invest in AI, whatever the fuck that means. You're supposed to do XYZ. Uh, Go participate at the next AI training, AI workshop, AI this, AI that. And the truth is, people still need people. Maybe some people will be replaced, but they'll still be productive to society. They'll still find their way of doing other things.
I don't even question that. I know
Yeah.
that this is a fact. I mean, people will still be
Because if you
needed.
take like call centers, social media managers, what other jobs people were like overhyping that they will be gone? They still exist. People still hire those people. The work or the nature of work has changed. Maybe they're not writing everything by hand. They're sourcing it to LLMs, right? Maybe they're not, maybe they have like a smart and intelligent, let's say voice to text, and then text to voice, text to speech, and speech to text to like be extremely efficient. And I've seen this used when it comes to like scammers and whatnot, like bots which are wasting the time of scammers, and they're extremely competent.
That's nice. I
Yeah,
would like to do
because
that.
they're calling in like and the scammers think they're dialing in some granny
Yes,
from
whatever
US.
increases the cost of doing business for scammers.
Yeah, and
That's a
scammers are
noble thing
fucking
to-
like, they're extremely frustrated and pissed off because they think they're scamming an old lady from the US. In reality, they're just talking to a bot over the internet, which is funny. I mean, there's a
That's
lot
a
of
cool
good
thing.
stuff.
There
Yeah.
should be an app for doing that because I mean, you did probably get calls from scammers here in Moldova, not so much, right?
I mean,
'Cause
Moldova is, but like if you, let's
in
say,
Western Union,
yeah, let's say if you live in a wealthy Western country, most likely you're gonna be scammed at some point.
yeah, a lot of my
Yeah.
friends got phony calls from like police departments and stuff. Yeah, that would be a very good app. I mean, noble thing to do to make a bot to waste scammers' time.
It's already existing. Like there are already services doing that stuff, which is fascinating, which is like the true power of AI, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's not even AI. It's like text.
But then
like
we can take one step
Yeah,
further,
yeah, yeah.
right? Like if you would have an app, would say, let's say somebody's calling you and say, "Ah, this is a fishy call. I'm going to apply this program, to answer him with my voice and whatever." Then you can take it one step further and let's say have another application that would talk whenever your wife is calling or your girlfriend is calling, right? And you have no motivation.
Let me tell you, you're gonna run into trouble really quickly.
Okay, what about your Scrum Master? Is that novel? Like when your Scrum Master calls and says, "When's that going to be done?" You have to
Oh, I
think
hate
about
that question. My point is, these jobs are not gone. They just have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Maybe
we're going
automated to some
have
extent.
transformation in
Yeah,
jobs
yeah, yeah.
like with any other type of technology that appeared, right? During history, we have a lot of examples when something disruptive appears. We have a shift in whatever in the skills needed in the market, right? And you always have winners and losers.
Yeah.
I think there is a theory from Acemoglu that describes this type of labor market. It uses constant elasticity of scales, where it basically tells you it predicts basically some interesting things that are not really that obvious. It all has to do with basically the elasticity of demand and elasticity of supply. And if the numbers are right, it could be that the things that you would expect normally to be gone might actually have an inverse effect. At least that was the case with software engineers, or the doctors. Usually, you would see that in places where you have like really good doctors, the doctors create their own demand. So you'd go to one guy and say, "Oh, I might have a heart problem. I'll go and prescribe you my friend who is a
No, that's actually
heart surgeon." And then over there you go, and indeed you have a heart problem or something because you might not know that you actually have a heart
that's
condition.
actually a thing. And like people define, like you have this notion of GDP, right?
Yes.
Where you try to evaluate productivity of a country, right?
No, it's not about the productivity. The GDP is
It's-
gross domestic product.
It's
which
mostly
basically says-
productivity, like how much you're producing,
No,
right?
the productivity tells you how much can you, as let's say a software engineer,
No,
can
but the
produce,
point is,
But
like
GDP
the
is
GDP
very well
is the result of
of
productive,
how much you have already
of
worked.
productive population of that country, right? So
Uh,
you might have services, you might have shit that you create a demand of, and there's a request of that, but it doesn't mean
Yes,
it's actually productive.
Well, GDP can be measured, right? We measure GDP either through the expenses or through the income thing, and they should more or less equal. Because every time when I go and spend
No, my
100
point is you have jobs
that might
which
not,
exist in the market, but
but
they
you think they're
and
not
they
useful.
contribute to the GDP, but they might not be, like you have, I don't know, a fucking guy who approves something before some change gets merged, right?
Yes, but
He's
who are
technically
we-
getting a salary, he contributes to the GDP. Question is, do we fucking need that guy?
Well, this is a completely different question, because whether you accept the utility of that job or not, this is a personal question to you. But if somebody pays for his job, then probably, or at least it's safe to assume, that the job is still needed. And if he, earns or spends or produces something that he sells to the society, regardless whether you think that thing is not needed or not, let's call it shitty or not, it's not really relevant. It's still going to be counted onto the GDP.
Yeah, but my point is,
And in Moldova,
if we haven't figured out a way to replace those jobs, it doesn't mean they won't be replaced, and it doesn't mean that is the true definition of actual productivity. Like the fact that you've established some monopoly in some domain and somebody hasn't yet automated that, it doesn't mean that you are safe.
well, you're not very safe if that's
Yeah.
going to be automated, absolutely. But if that thing that you do is going to be automated, you'll probably find something else. On the
Probably would.
Well, it doesn't really matter what, but what we do know is that unemployment rate, right,
Yeah.
in basically any country that you take, it's not really determined by the technology or by the innovation that you have.
Some
But
people
it's
believe
really
that.
determined by things like as trite as the interest rate in that country, right? The lower the interest rate, the lower the unemployment. Of course, unless you go into hyperinflation.
Usually, but that
So yeah, but I would argue that monetary policy in a country is much more important for the unemployment rate than ChatGPT is. But this is something that people don't really realize.
yeah, but where does unemployment come from? Right? You have actual jobs that no longer exist, right?
This is I think this is wrong to think that the jobs are static and somebody can go and take the job. The jobs are being created based also on demand and supply. Let's say you need to create a product that sells well. I don't know. It could be like a camera, it could be like a mouse, or it could be like software and stuff. And you have a demand for that software. And because you have demand that or contract, you basically start hiring somebody who can do that job. You're going to need less people if their productivity is very high. And this is where Chamoglu comes, right? Because of the elasticity of demand, supply, how productive you are. So basically, all this IntelliJ idea for Java developers, all this ChatGPT, they are basically enhancers of our productivity. I can do now more in 1 hour than I could do before this tool came in. Right?
No, that's fair. Yeah,
That's kind of fair. But still, you need to deliver that product because it's the product that people, or the service that people consumes. And this is basically what makes the GDP. It can end up that once it's cheaper to make these products because your productivity has increased, let's say due to the nice ChatGPT that will not just make code out of the blue, but will actually make code that works. Let's suppose that for
that's such a notion.
Yes, and then Elon Musk would be completely right in this case. But let's suppose this thing. What would happen then? Then basically we would have more software. We would replicate the software a little bit faster, something that we cannot do at the moment, right? and the market will change, but basically people would consume more software because it's going to be cheaper to produce and cheaper to consume. So you'll be able to afford more. It's called the incoming effect.
What are the negative effects of AI? Because we are so very much praising it for what it is and whatnot, for what it's going to be. Some people are bullish on it and whatnot. I'm wondering, have we, in the process of this crazy innovation, become dumber? What's your thoughts on this one?
Well, I'm already dumb. I mean, I don't really envision myself being dumb.
No,
But
I
you're
mean,
right. I mean, I did get a little bit,
let me
not a
rephrase
little
it.
bit, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'm just kidding. So once you discover, right, that some things that took you a lot of time can be done with a prompt, and while, well, let me be fair, I'm using Juni from IntelliJ.
Yeah.
Great tool. I like it.
I
I mean,
tried it.
Juni is like now
Yeah.
being integrated with the AI chat. It's another tool that also they put. It's still great. I like it. It works a little bit different. I got used with Juni, but anyhow, it doesn't really matter. It's a tool that I like using that saves me a little bit of time. Every time when you have something that saves you a little bit of time, doesn't matter whether it's a new framework, it might be even a new language, right? Why did you go, for example, from Java to Go or from PHP to Go? Probably because you saw some benefits, some things that you could do easier over there than in the previous thing. We get a little bit of dopamine effect, right? I mean, that, oh, I now can do that thing a lot
definitely
easier,
do.
right? I don't need to waste so much time on that thing anymore. So you concentrate on something else.
Yes, I am totally up for using LLMs for trying to outsource the stuff which takes you time. You don't want to spend your fucking time on stuff which can be automated, right? It's like
Mhm.
trying to write 20 lines by hand or trying to do them in a for loop. It's kind of the same.
Yep.
You don't want to do that. I agree with that. At the same time, you have people that are almost addicted to
Okay.
this effect of dopamine, of gratification, of getting things done fast, that in the process they outsource their critical thinking. They don't even say AI, ChatGPT, whatever the fuck model they use, give me some options on this problem with this particular, I don't know, data, with this particular context. Like you supply all the details, it's going to
Mhm.
give you a list of options. You say, cool, I want to focus on A, B, and C. Can you develop them? Can you give me some code snippets? And then at the end, you say, I want to make this decision. Instead, what people do in the process is they ask for options. Then they also ask AI which option is the best. Then AI tells them what option is the best. Then they just copy paste it without even understanding fully what they've done because they don't care. And also, the market, the industry, you take management, companies, there's also this incentive that you need to be doing things fast, you need to be using AI, and the faster you do things the better, because that's what we care about anyway. And
Who says that?
the management
says
is pushing it, like,
do it as fast as possible.
exactly,
Of
like
course,
try
yes.
to use AI, try to
Because I want to
AI.
go to the market as soon as possible.
And
Yep.
and you
Makes
have
sense.
this, on the other hand, the human nature where we don't want to, like, we want to get the maximum amount of result with the minimum amount of effort. On the other hand, you have management pushing the same idea, and you're like, okay, am I becoming dumber to the point where I'm just a monkey?
But why do you think that you're becoming dumber? Like
Because you are not thinking.
you're not thinking critically.
Like you are, you
like
exist,
hit
you know, as that saying, you
Mhm.
exist because you think.
Okay. Yes. Um. Yeah. Valid points. I would say that.
Like, what's the difference between you prompting and another AI agent prompting? If you're not taking the ultimate decision and you're not doing it educated, like,
yeah. First of all, I would say you have to ask: do you even know what you're doing?
that's a
do
good
you
question.
know what you do? Yeah, what
Yeah.
exactly you want to do, right?
Yeah.
I had a project in the United States where I basically was kind of clueless what I was doing. It was very difficult. It was about networking and stuff. I had to do network address translation, not PAT,
Yeah. Yeah.
port address translation. I also had to look a little bit at the firewalls and BGP protocols and stuff like this. Without a proper degree in networking, I mean, it's quite hard, right? So first of all, what's the business domain, right? It's one thing. If you're working, let's say, in finance, like I am right now, it's a little bit easier, of course, because we all will have like an inclination to understand what money is, and there's not so much theory around it, right? Because money is money. Um, but when you have a domain, you have a problem, and you give it to ChatGPT, this is the first thing. You have to tell ChatGPT what exactly you want to solve. And this is where your effort needs to go, more or less. Um, before, I mean, a couple of years ago, before ChatGPT, you would start coding before you had all the requirements, before you even needed to know everything, because that was not so important. It was much more important, let's say, to have a project running, to have something where you can write code, where, to have like a framework, or to have some methods that would do the job. In those methods, you just write NOP, not implemented yet, who cares? The only important thing is that you start the thing going. What changed now with ChatGPT is that we change now priorities. Now suddenly it's what you need to do,
Yeah.
what type of project you need to do, what type of product you need to deliver that is more important than, let's say, the mere part of coding. So I'd say we would need to change more from developers to software engineers. Because software engineers, they try, at least to the definition that I've heard in Moldova, is they try to make a product rather than try to do code.
Yeah.
This is basically what changed. You still need to do code as well, but not as much. And this is basically how I see it.
Yeah. So we went a little bit from we went a little bit from how to maybe what.
Exactly. Also, with ChatGPT, I would see another problem, right? Because before we were making a lot of effort to understanding what would be the best library, which APIs we should be using for a particular problem to solve. We would really think about code readability, right? It was a big thing.
But it's still, I
It
wouldn't
still
say
is. It still
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Let's wait for another years. I would expect that all these things will be a little bit less important because it's going to be, Chat GPT's job not to write me the code. Oh, I don't understand that part. Chat GPT, could you please explain me what does this thing do? Stuff like this. And of course, from an aesthetic point of view, I think it's going to get a little bit worse. Also, if you don't know what you have written, because it's ChatGPT doing all this stuff, we will spend a lot more time not writing code, but debugging the code that ChatGPT wrote for
Yeah,
us.
that's my problem, is this infinite babysitting. I hate it to the point where okay, fuck that. How about I go old school? Let's go back a little bit in history. Let's write some stuff by myself, no fucking AI. And I quite frankly enjoy that process, to the point where we go back to routine and I'm like, okay, let me give this to AI. I don't need to be wasting my time on that, right?
But that's because you see a little bit of value over there. You see that by making a little bit of investment and effort into that code,
No, but
you
sometimes
understand it better.
sometimes it's even faster and easier.
You adhere to better code quality. You use some design patterns. You make it let's say close for modification but open for extension. You follow some principles that you are familiar with.
No, like let me
All
give
these
you
things you
the
have to give up
let me give
for
you the
the
classical example. Like you have a piece of function which already works. Let's say you don't understand, you give it to a chat GPT and whatnot. It explains you how it works. Then you say, change this to that. Like this
a
small
tiny thing,
change,
yeah.
this just tiny super change. It changes that, it breaks a whole ton of other things, right?
Yeah.
You try to LLM your way and you go back and forth, and you've realized
Yeah, you basically write him.
you wasted half an hour trying to change one small thing when you could fucking use your brain to understand what the code actually does and go and change it
And
yourself.
this is where your hacking skills should
Yeah, yeah.
because at the beginning you mentioned that Moldovan hackers are the best. You can just try to hack ChatGPT by telling him, you are a senior software engineer. Try to do the exact
Yeah,
same.
you could
Good luck with that.
you could let's say hype it up a little
Yeah,
bit.
you can try to hack ChatGPT. Good luck, but we both know how it works. We both know what we did at Kobo. My argument is that it didn't really change. It's just better.
True. It got better, and I'm sure it will.
But it got better because it had more information. Plus, of the 8 guys from Google who made that concentration thing, that something we didn't really have.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has gotten better. At the same time,
but I get your point. Our industry will be changing. Some of the things that you actually value, clean code, design patterns.
I actually don't value that.
Okay, I like it. There's a lot of change because management will demand from you products faster. Because
they already
others
do. They already do.
Yeah,
and there's also this perception that because we have AI, automatically you're supposed to cost cheaper, deliver faster. Yeah.
Yes, at the end of the day, it's a demand and supply problem.
True. But do you know what happens in the process? Like, I personally see that happening in the process of basically outsourcing the critical thinking skills, of eliminating juniors, of trying to shove AI left and right down everybody's throat. What happens is you build a lot of mediocrity. Shitty projects, dumb people, management that demands this and try to push limits, push the envelope and whatnot. In the process, you end up piling up a lot of mediocrity, and somebody will have to fix the shit, right? We're building up a ton of shit. We're claiming AI is going to solve it, but in the end, we're just piling up more and more technical debt. And I guess it's going to be like we're going to preserve job security for the best of us, for the seniors, right? Because we're going to be hired as experts, coming and trying to fix people's products. And the other truth is, because coding is not such a scarce, rare skill, you have a lot of people like product managers, project managers, I don't know, just indie hackers who make their way into LLMs and they build top to bottom projects. They're not the best, they don't fully work, or maybe they do, but they have limitations. And maybe they even go to the market, they reach some customers, get some money, get some funding, and then they look for experts, for us, and
to clean
the mess, to improve it, to scale it.
So you can already see how the labor market is, or where the labor market is
the problem with the market, with the jobs in particular, is you've effectively eliminated the next generation of engineers. Because how the fuck do you onboard the people? Like, the people that maybe had an interest in, like, I personally know people that were caught up in this transition period where we were just discovering ChatGPT. Everybody was hyping AI left and right. They were just getting started. They pick up some Udemy courses. They started learning and whatnot. And they just were crushed by the job market. Nobody was looking for them. Nobody's hiring them. A lot of companies froze hiring in general. And you only have people looking for seniors because there's so many of them. A lot of them have been laid off. A lot of them are looking for jobs, desperate even. And you have juniors who are competing with automation, with seniors, and with the fucked up market.
Yes, but these are consequences and of ChatGPT increased productivity, and this is all in the short term.
Yeah.
And the long term, this is not sustainable.
What's going to happen in the long term?
Well, first of all, less people are going to study software engineering because it's not as demanded, because software engineers are suddenly more productive. So you can do the exact same thing with less, which is totally normal. And but you also have, you mentioned it yourself, you're going to debug more, right?
Yeah.
Because ChatGPT makes it so, interesting stuff over there that it hallucinates. And so you're going to need people to clean stuff up, right? Or if you want to, let's say you want to add a new feature, because you didn't follow, let's say, the solid principle, whatever principles, it's going to cost you more to add this new thing. So everything has a cost. Of course, at the end of the day, I think we're going to be better off. Society is going to be better off. But yeah, there's going to be new jobs to be yet created because we're still in this transition period. We're still going to see what the effects will be. It's not known. But we shouldn't really we shouldn't be too hyperbolic about it, because we can remember what happened in the 90s when computers and personal computers were introduced, right? Everybody thought that, oh, now our productivity is going to be bonkers, going to boost like 100 times, and we will be doing 10x the output. Nothing of that happened. Absolutely nothing. Yes, we did see a productivity boost, but it was mild, nothing from what we expected. And the exact same thing we're seeing today, what was 50 years ago, when people were learning about the AI, and there were hundreds of people studying medicine and whatever, going to see how the AI will be doing surgery. This is basically what people in Cambridge and Oxford believed, that the AI will be doing surgeries in the future. And how much of that has actually happened? How many surgeons do you see
And
using AI to operate?
I mean, and even people, like, it comes down to people trusting this technology enough to the point where it gets the same with like autopilots, right? You have
We still need
cars
to see
still crushing, and it's not
a
perfect.
car that drives by itself
Yeah.
properly. Then we wouldn't need any drivers, right?
And we still
just
have
like
taxi drivers.
But I think we still need a little bit more work towards that. I mean, I don't see it tomorrow, after tomorrow.
Yeah.
And remember the cobot thing. We always thought we're just one step to achieving whatever we wanted.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like looking at the horizon. Every time say, oh, look, it's over there. You go over there and then you see another horizon.
Yeah.
So the same with AI. And it's going to be the exact same thing with anything that has probabilities in it.
We've been talking a lot about AI. Not that I don't enjoy the topic, as you can tell. At the same time, let's maybe talk a little bit about other topics. Like, you're coming from Switzerland, right?
No, I'm not coming from. I'm coming from Moldova.
No. You're coming. I mean, more like, yes, you were born here, but this is more of a temporary location.
At the moment, right? I live over there.
Yeah.
Because I have to. Because of the job requires that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have.
How's the job market there?
For software engineers, it's like everywhere else, right? So we end up transition.
Is it like everywhere else though? Because a lot of people.
We're talking about the transition.
Yeah.
And we're talking about layoffs. Switzerland is not, safe haven for software engineers.
Yeah.
A lot of software engineers, and good ones from Google, from Facebook, they were laid off. There are also rumors and stuff like that a lot of people will also be fired from other industries as well, not just the fun ones. So yeah, we could agree it's not in its peak, right? Don't expect to be bombarded by a lot of offers.
How's taxing
there? But there are offers. Taxes is interesting because Switzerland is a confederation.
Yeah.
So it all depends where you live. It depends, first of all, in which canton you live, which for you users probably a canton is like a state.
Yeah, it's like a Germany type of thing.
I'm not sure.
Where you have lands and then different lands have different rules.
Yes, similar. Or like United States, where you have state taxes, right?
Okay. So it's like.
But unlike, let's say, United States, where the majority of the taxes would go to federal taxes, right? In Switzerland, the taxes can vary quite steeply from one canton to another, and from one town or village to another. So you can be like, 5 kilometers away or 10 kilometers away, you pay completely different tax rate.
What's the average, let's say, for a software engineer?
The tax?
The tax, yeah.
Well, it depends on many. This is interesting.
Like, give me a fucking number.
Okay, I'll give you. I promise I'll give you. But you have to take two things into consideration: whether you're married or not.
Is that a thing?
Yes, because
really,
if in Switzerland, if you're married, then you get in a different tax bracket.
Is it lower or higher?
It's higher.
Higher.
Yes, exactly. So they
so
don't
much
really
for promotion.
encourage marriage. Yes, unless you're very rich and you can afford it.
Yeah, but how does that make sense? Like, if you're married, you technically plan on having kids. Technically, you're like technically the nation is not getting older.
You do have a deduction for every kid you have, but it's not much.
Yeah, but how the fuck does that make sense? Like, you're not encouraging the population to basically
Well,
reproduce.
who said that it should make sense?
I don't know. Like, but what's the percentage though? Like, is it 20%, 30%? Like, what's the
In some cantons, it can get as high as around 40%.
really
Yes. And the canton where I live, it's around 10%.
10%?
Yes. So it
But
depends on the
such a
canton.
fucking discrepancy.
Of course. As I
Yeah.
said, it all depends where you live, not only the canton, but also the village where you
Do you
live.
plan on getting married?
I am already married.
You're already at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends again. Cost and benefit analysis. They basically make you to think all the time about that.
Yeah.
And it's not about the taxes or getting married. It's also about the policies that they do and the type of democracies they have. I actually liked it.
I mean, 10% is actually pretty fucking good deal, I would say. If you
It's a
take
very good deal.
it's a very good deal given everything is legal, you live in a good
Yes,
infrastructure.
that's why they have actually more
Yeah.
companies over there than people that live in that canton.
Yeah.
But of course, there is a price to pay for that.
What's the
It's
price?
the price is, let's say, the rent. Most of Swiss people, they don't have an apartment like you do. If anyone in Switzerland have such a huge apartment as you have here, plus another room for a studio, such a big kitchen, they would have to be not they would have to be multi-millionaires to afford something like this.
How much is an apartment there?
In the
Like for a,
canton
for
where
a
I
square
live,
meter, for example.
per square meter is around $10,000
Holy shit.
and up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
15. It depends also on the region and stuff, but it can go 10, 15,000
Yeah.
per square meter.
I mean, you're better off, I guess, to fucking go US. Yeah, why not?
Well, of course, it depends. I mean, it
Just
depends
keep your
what-
money in the Swiss bank. That's it.
Yes, that's a good advice.
Yeah.
That's a good advice. But they're very picky, I would say. I can tell you, for example, my experience in Switzerland. When I first came, you can say that basically I moved to Switzerland from United States.
Yeah.
Because I was working in Philly and then I moved over there. I had a couple of months here in Moldova because life and COVID and stuff like this. But I did not really expect that because I have a social security number in United States or because I have a phone number from United States, I would have such huge problems because I wanted to get a bank account.
Yeah, they have this FATCA thing
Yeah,
where they have to like report stuff to back to United States.
Yeah, but this is not a problem. We also have that thing in Moldova.
Yeah,
right?
true. But is that like
the thing that happened to me is,
but you're not a citizen, right?
No, I'm not.
Then why would you have issues?
Well, just because I live there, just because I have a social security number, they ask you
Interesting.
about all these things.
Yeah.
Have you lived in the United States? Do you have a US phone number? Blah, 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 blah. And then, okay, you answer truthfully, right? And at one moment, the lady basically stood up and walked away. She didn't really she didn't want to deal with me at all.
Yeah.
And I stayed, and I stayed, nothing. And I told her, but I cannot go. I need a bank account because otherwise, how would I get my salary? No,
True,
I'm just
true.
a simple employee. And somebody came over there and asked me, "Oh, why are you still here? Why didn't you just go away?" I said, "Because I need a bank account, because I would be working for you."
Yeah.
To which they replied, "Well, why didn't you tell that from the very beginning?" And then they told me that, "Oh, you're not really supposed to have anything to do with the United States if you want to open a bank account."
I think
Because they have a very strict thing about know your client, and
yeah.
they just don't want to deal with the U.S. citizens.
Why
I don't
not?
know. I don't know.
Is it because of like all kinds of shady businesses?
I don't really think. I don't know. I don't think it's because of the shady businesses. I think it's because
So they
of
have
the
like a
cost.
thing? Do they have like a thing with United States in particular?
They had a lot of things. Definitely, there's a lot of public things about how they were in disputes and legal disputes with the United States. How some of the employees, let's say from one of the banks in Switzerland, was arrested during the custom control. That the custom officials from the United States wanted to know some information about the clients, which is very illegal. And you are not allowed, unlike in Moldova, to give information about the clients
Yeah.
that you serve in Switzerland.
Why is Switzerland the best place to keep your money?
You have to ask that question to basically every billionaire that
Yeah.
has money over there.
Yeah.
Basically, almost everyone have accounts over there, and yeah, I'm in no way to in a position to talk about or to because that's not my thing, right? I'm a software engineer, but there is, of course, a reason why the richest people in the world want to keep the money in Switzerland.
Yeah.
There must be a good reason for that.
Is it like,
and
I
I
don't
can
know.
tell you that from a banking perspective, because I have an account over there. But since I'm an employee, I get only 50. I pay only 50% of the fees and stuff. And even by paying 50% of the fees, it's still quite expensive. But the services are good. I mean, it all depends how much money you have over there.
Yeah.
And based on how much money you have, you can be you consider like poor, like me, where you don't have any status, and then you have like I don't know, people in growth, they call it. I don't remember. I
I
have to
remember
check
the
it
time
out.
when I crossed the border from Italy to Switzerland. You just enter Switzerland and you can almost feel a kind of wind of like a kind of wind that goes through your pockets and you immediately feel poor.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to feel
Yeah.
poor,
No, that's just the regular, like the casualty of just walking the streets of Chisinau and just fucking being able to order any kind of food at a very low price. Extremely good food. Like
but
every
let's go
single
back
time I
to-
travel,
let's go back. I just want to tell you something.
Yeah.
This is like, when would you be considered wealthy? They have like different types of wealthiness. So they have like high net worth individuals,
yeah,
which I think it starts from like 15 million in your account
yeah,
dollars, which is like an incredible sum. Like, who on earth would put such amount of money in a bank account? And then they also have another category for ultra net high worth individuals. I don't know how much money those guys have, but
what's the incentive nowadays for you to keep a lot of liquidities? Isn't it better if you have, let's say, I don't know, stocks, real estate, like
good question.
any kind of non-liquid value?
Good question.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we live in such times that you have to probably ask Warren Buffett about that. Why is it that he basically liquidated everything and now he has
No, but the
sits
thing
on a
is,
pile of cash?
the thing
I have
is,
no
if
idea
you
what's going on.
if you have liquidities, then you have governments. Some do it more often than others that print a lot of money. That
Exactly.
the fucking inflation goes through the roof. Your money is worth less
Mhm.
every single year. Basically, you can kiss goodbye to at least 20%
That's
of your
why
money.
Switzerland probably has its own money. They
Yeah.
call it the Swiss franc.
Yeah.
And they have a very strict monetary policy. And they have also very strict rules regarding the banking system and stuff. You could probably read disputes between like the CEO of the biggest bank in Switzerland, which is at the moment UBS, with their national bank and FINMA and stuff like this, where they try to somehow negotiate what would be the required capital for banks. This is, of course, a different area, not software engineering. But it's really interesting to see what type of power both of these people have and how they try to negotiate. But Switzerland has always been, known as more or less a country or that has a government that negotiates and that can find, let's say, middle ground between many interests. That's why, for example, Switzerland has a lot of embassies and wears the, let's say, flag carrier of many countries. What I've heard is that even United States, when they want to negotiate something with North Korea, they go through Switzerland. And they do have a lot of experience in diplomacy. Something I do not have.
Do they still have a lot of bunkers left over?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I've never needed one, but they do. I've never seen.
Do they still build houses with like
Yes,
bunker type of houses?
all the old houses there. So the place where I rented, yes, we had a bunker. I had my own one, and I could go there.
Must have been cool during pandemic to live in
Yeah,
Switzerland.
but why would you go in a bunker? I mean, that
I mean,
that
it
thing
was
is just for
there was this bunker type of mentality being promoted, like you should gather supplies
yeah,
and
they
shit.
had like the walls like they stake and close yourself over there. But they use those bunkers for storing stuff like kellers,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
storage things. Something we don't have here in Moldova, but I found it really cool.
I mean, we
'Cause-
have bitch basically.
exactly.
You store
but
your
over there-
wine and
yeah,
whatnot.
we store basically our wine over there, but they store things that you don't want to put in your house.
Yeah.
Stuff that you care about not to throw away, so you just put it over there, and usually it's full of stuff. And
Would you recommend Switzerland for a software engineer? Let's say if financials was the primary motivation.
no, from a financial point of view, no.
Why
I
not?
would not recommend Switzerland. You can earn, I mean, if you have a job, if you have a contract position like you do, you can earn more money here in Moldova than in Switzerland.
Really?
Yes.
That's
If you have two
interesting.
jobs, easily. I know software engineers that earn more than I do,
Is it
and I have a pretty high rank.
so when you say you don't recommend, it's more like what you get left over after you pay the taxes and the rent and the lifestyle, basically?
Well, before,
or just the financial
of
part
course,
of
before the taxes, you'd get a little bit more in Switzerland.
Yeah.
After taxes, since you don't pay any taxes as software engineer here in Moldova,
I
you
mean,
pay
it's-
7%
yeah,
from
it's
your revenue and stuff.
7%. Yeah.
You are financially, you might be better off in Moldova, but you would have to work a lot more, because in Switzerland they have this notion of work-life balance, which
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
and you have compulsory holidays. You're not allowed to not take them and get paid, like you can do here in Moldova. Over there, you'd get scolded if you don't do some, if you don't take your holidays. So, but that thing said, I would recommend Switzerland if you value also non-financial things.
Yeah.
Let's say if you're allergic to ambrosia like I am, right? Switzerland would be much better off, because think if you're allergic, let's say, just to this little thing, to ambrosia, how much would you be willing to pay not to have those problems during most of the autumn and most of the summer?
Yeah.
If that thing is important for you, then you probably want the air from Switzerland rather than here in Moldova. Then another thing is, like, say, medicine. I like the medicine over there, but it all depends on how
Is it
healthy
free
you-
or
No, it's not free. You pay insurance. It's compulsory, unlike in the United States, and you have to pay it.
unlike United States?
You have to pay it. You can choose whatever insurance you want. I like it, and the out-of-pocket expenses is much better than I would say in US.
Would you
But-
say it's more of a capitalist country or more of a socialist country?
Wow, that is a very good question. Everybody, I mean, would assume that you have capitalism in Switzerland, 100%.
Yeah.
That is not false. But, Switzerland is also some type of gray area, because you also have over there some system that you would only learn if you would be interested in, economic systems. I would say Switzerland has elements, some certain elements of neo-communism.
Really?
Yes. For example, they have some markets over there,
Yeah.
and in case they make more profit than they would agree, they would reduce the prices of all their products on all the shelves. Let's say by 10%, by 5%, or by 15%, whatever, so that they wouldn't get that profit anymore.
I mean, they do it for banks, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
For
They have
banks.
this. They have this over profit taxation, if I'm not
No,
mistaken.
no. This
They
is
don't?
basically, they do it not really for the money, but for like a social cause and stuff like this. I would say these are elements that you would read if you would be interested in economic policies, and these are neo-communist things. Not socialism, definitely not socialism, because it's a little bit different.
So you would say it doesn't necessarily encourage.
But this is only in some sectors.
Yeah.
It's not about the usual. I mean, if you want to go and open a business, of course, it's capitalist, and the government is very competitive. People are very reluctant on spending the tax money on. Basically, the people over there have a much higher degree of deciding where the money goes, unlike in countries like Moldova or anywhere else in Europe.
Is it true that you're doing referendums for pretty much anything?
I was shocked when I, as a non-citizen of Switzerland,
Yeah.
received a letter from my Gemeinde, which is basically, like Gemeinde is like a couple of villages going together to save cost on mayories, right?
Yeah.
Something that they want to do here in Moldova, but from a central, like it's the president trying to do that thing. Over there, it's a downward up system. So it's the people who more or less try to decide. So
Yeah.
I received a letter asking me to vote whether I agree or not. And check this out. This is really crazy. Whether I agree to increase the size of the runway in the Zurich airport.
Oof. Dude, that's like, imagine that in Moldova.
Yeah, to try to imagine anything like that. They
Like,
try to
the public
to
sector
ask
here-
you whether you agree. Should we increase? And then they, of course, tell you about the cost. What are the consequences
Yeah.
if you say yes? What if you say no? So this is one thing, right? And so I would say if you live in Switzerland, you want to be a citizen over there, you really have to be involved and you have to be astute into economic policies. I'm amazed that even with a little bit of background in economics, I don't even know stink to the level that an ordinary Swiss citizen has. They're just amazing from this point of view. And we can think, well, why is this so? Like the Swiss more educated? Are they more interested in politics than Moldovans are? I would say no. The reason why they are the way they are is because how they decide on things. And they decide on the local level. They have, as I said, a lot of fiscal autonomy. So it's the Gemeindes or that decide how much taxes they want to pay. And it's not like how much you want to pay. You basically decide on which public services you want, right?
Yeah.
I was once told that in the village where I live, people wanted to build a swimming pool because everyone wants to swim. I
Yeah.
also like to swim. I also like a swimming pool. And everybody was like, oh, yes, let's go and vote for a swimming pool and everything, because they didn't have one. Or actually, they had one swimming pool, but it wasn't suited for swimming in the winter because it needs to be covered, right? It needs to be heated, and this costs. So they went over there in the Gemeinde. Everybody was in no feeling to vote yes on let's build a swimming pool. And then they saw the cost. And then they saw how much would that cost reflect into how much taxes you'd have to pay. Give this responsibility to the Moldovans, right? You say, hey, here's your community. You want a swimming pool? Fine, but you'll have to pay a little bit more in the taxes. And you'll see how Moldovans quickly become Swiss-minded. Because at the end of the day, they voted no. When they saw how much they would have to pay, the extra tax that they would have to pay, they said, you know what?
In Moldova,
I'd rather go somewhere else.
You would do it differently. On paper, you'd have one price. In reality, you'd have a whole different price.
But it's not even.
Yeah.
It's not even about that. I mean, assume that the prices would be good. It's always that.
No, but you have transparency in Moldova. I would say.
But you'd have to decide.
The public authority they're not transparent. Let's begin with that. To add insult to the injury, they behave like they're the fucking kings.
No, we behave because
they try to meet with the peasants, and let's find out what the peasants want.
It's not about the peasants and stuff. I would say that we expect a lot from our governments. We expect a lot of services, but we are not really aware that all these services actually cost something.
That
Somebody
is
needs to
the
pay
post-Soviet mentality, where we were used to the idea of having a tsar, having somebody governing, somebody taking care of us, somebody just making sure everything is cool.
Here's a swimming pool for you. Here's a football stadium.
You don't need to think. You don't need to worry about it. I'll handle it.
Yeah.
Like
all
that
you
type
need to
of
do
mentality.
is demand and demand. And this is basically what Moldovans can do. They demand very well. And whenever you demand something, the people that you vote for will pretend that they are giving it to you. Which is basically what you can see in Chisinau right now, because I work in Chisinau. Oh, you see, all these lights and stuff, and people like it, but where are the things that actually matter? Where is the infrastructure that matters? Where the sewage system, for example, if you would only do for whatever people voted you for to do, you'd probably try, or you'd have an inclination to do what people see so that you get additional votes. But if you'd actually ask people themselves to vote on matters that they think matters the most, you'd probably see a different type of rebalancing of the public budget. And
Yeah,
public
like
funds.
there's like in politics, at least in Moldova, you have this perception-based involvement of the politicians, where it's easier to do something which is populist,
Yes.
something which on the surface looks good, but it doesn't necessarily benefit you long term. Like for instance, the roads. It's always a problem, right? They just try to renovate it in a very cheap and I would say unsatisfactory way. It fucking is ruined after a few months or even sooner than that. So when you see people working on the roads and renovating them, you're like, oh, something is being done. But in reality, nothing is being done because you just fucking wasted resources on renovating, quote unquote. In the end, you didn't do shit. You wasted resources, money, and people are unsatisfied anyway. So I mean, it's fascinating. It's
I think
fascinating.
here we could learn a little bit from Switzerland.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what should we learn as Moldovans?
I would say that the lesson learned is that we actually need a little bit more democracy, and we need to be aware that there is another way, and giving more decision-making things to the local communities might actually be beneficial. Although
I would argue we
Moldovans,
should start with maybe changing our own mindset, maybe having less expectations and getting more involved.
but what is actually a mindset? How do we form our mindset? Do we form our mindset given
I would
all
say
the possibilities that we have to
I
do,
would say through
or is the vice
education.
versa? Is the Swiss mentality the way it is because they have to vote and they need to vote, and it's better for them if they vote one way or another? Or was it that they had the mentality and then they made the system? It's a chicken and egg problem.
True,
I would
true,
argue
true.
that if you would allow the Moldovans to vote on some topics, they would start learning quite fast, just like software engineers, right? What motivated our developers to become software engineers at the end? Because at the moment, right, we have more and more companies that come to solve engineering problems rather than to just code.
Yeah.
And this is why the salaries actually increased. It's not because demand. So, I mean, we created basically the demand, because software engineers realize, oh, if I learn this framework, I can do a little bit more, and then I can earn a little bit more. I can demand a high salary because I'm more productive, and so on and so forth. So I think it's the same thing with democracy. Once you taste the benefits of some local democracies, I think people will demand more and more of that.
Is there democracy in the world?
Definitely in Switzerland there is.
Does it?
At least this is my opinion.
Okay,
Some
let me
people
maybe
might
ask
disagree,
it.
but
Let me ask it this way: can you say anything you want?
can I say anything I want?
Like, is there censorship, policing, in the sense of, like, how autonomous are you
I
in
would say
Switzerland?
in any country you can say whatever you want as long as you're nobody.
Nice one, nice one. I mean, as somebody said, your significance is directly tied, or let's just say your
But again, I think we're
ability to
confusing.
speak
Are we
free.
talking about democracy or are we talking about the freedom of speech? Because they're two different
I
things.
was gonna ask about freedom of speech. Like, as somebody said, your freedom of speech is directly correlated to your insignificance. As you said,
Yes.
if you are a nobody, probably
you can
nobody
say
gives a
no-
shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because like you see all these trends, at least in Europe, in the European Union, where you
Mhm.
have policing the democracy, policing the freedom of speech, and you see fact checking, at least on Meta and whatnot. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, I was wondering because Switzerland is funny, interesting, because they behave like the European Union, but at the same time they say no, we're actually different. We're our own country, our own democracy, our own rules and everything, which is interesting.
Well, if you ask me, um, Switzerland is built, from, I mean, the democracy in Switzerland, I say, is from bottom going up. Um, Even when you apply for a visa to work in Switzerland,
Yeah,
it's not the government that gives you the visa. It's the canton
really.
that writes the government that, yeah, we want this guy. And then I'm talking about for Moldovans like us who want to go and work over there. So first you need a company that wants you.
Yeah,
Then the canton basically approves your visa. Then based on the approval from that canton, you can go to the embassy and ask for one, which is completely different than any other country. If you go and ask a visa for United States, it's the U.S. embassy that is the authority, right? Over there, if they like you, if you, they look, they
yeah,
can
it's
ask you
central.
how much money you earn. If you have enough money in the bank account, sure, you can go to the United States. Otherwise, sorry. Um, or right now, we even have these rules that if you're too fat, you might also be rejected for traveler's visa in the United States.
Really.
Yes, I mean it's a different type of.
Is it the reverse of the body shaming movement?
I
Which
don't think it's related to budget. I think it's just related to, again, public financing, because from a statistical point of view, they might say that, oh, if you are
like hospitals are overloaded and stuff? And
exactly, yeah, or probably it's just a cost to their society if something happens
I
to you, right?
wasn't aware of that thing when because I do have my visa for like 10 years. I haven't visited yet. I need to check out the US one day at least.
Okay, yeah, you should. I think it's an amazing country.
Yeah, the thing like it's fascinating what you mentioned with like democracy and whatnot. And like I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the US that's awakening, Europe that's falling short to what used to be the European Union and Europe in general, the values we used to cultivate and the values we currently have and whatnot.
I would
It's a
be a little
slippery
bit
slope. Yeah.
more bullish about the European Union.
Are you?
Yes, but of course, some things would need to change. I would.
Do you have carbon tax in Switzerland?
I think they do. I don't know. I don't have no idea about the carbon tax, because this is about
Technically, it should be on your
the
bills.
enterprises.
Technically, it should be on your bills when you're like heating your home and whatnot.
No, I didn't see that. Maybe in the future we'll have, but I don't know. But yes, I'm bullish about the European Union.
I'm
It
not.
all depends. Don't depends on the willingness of the European Union to reform into the United States of Europe.
Do you agree
If
with
we,
with the statement that U.S. innovates, Europe regulates, and China replicates?
I think if you look at the innovation index,
Yeah,
Switzerland is way more innovative per capita than United States.
really.
Yes, by far.
Like in what field in
Like
particular?
in many fields. So it's not just about
How
banks
about
or
military?
about watches and chocolate. It's much more than that. Look, for example, at the pharmaceutical products and how much innovation they have over there. You have the biggest names that stay in Switzerland. It's um, the company that I live next to.
Yeah.
Their revenue was just of that company was around, if I'm not mistaken, around 5 times greater than the GDP of Moldova combined.
I mean, I'm not
And
even
that's just
doubting
one
that.
company.
Yeah.
And that's pharma and Swiss. So yeah, you can't really say that. I mean, just because we don't know in Moldova about Switzerland what they do, you can't really say that no, they don't innovate because we never heard of. Yes, they do, and they are very innovative.
Do you have
Otherwise, they wouldn't be so productive, and they wouldn't have such high salaries, because the salaries that they're getting is basically a ratio, right, of their productivity.
when it
We are
comes?
not really innovative in Moldova, although we do have research institutions here.
I
We do
mean,
have some papers. We
we
do
don't
have
have the
some.
traction to innovate. I'll Like the way I look at Moldova personally is we are barely surviving as a country. We live from
Well, I can't say that you're barely
no,
surviving.
I mean as a country, like if you take the Moldovan national debt, for instance, it's barely making it to the next quarter. And
The
it's
debt ratio, you mean? Or what?
I mean the national debt.
The national.
It's
What
it's
about the national?
it's always increasing, and it's been at least double or
Yes,
tripled.
it's increasing, but it's still far from the national debt of EU countries.
Yeah,
We're
but
doing
that's
still
it's not at the same rate. Like if you take, for instance, the last 4 years of government,
Well, that's because we
it's
had,
been tripled basically.
yeah, but that's because you also have to take into consideration what happened during all these years. It's not like Moldova has been living in a vacuum and that
Yeah, but
everything was as it was in 2015. Since you have a war, you have
yeah, but you have a
migrants,
country you have a country at war which has a lower inflation than a country neighboring a country at war, which is
but
funny.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I can't say because I didn't see the figures. What I can tell you is what I basically feel, right? And yes, the inflation in Moldova, there was inflation in Moldova. On the other hand, the national currency has increased, that it has strengthened in comparison with, let's say, even 2018.
Yeah.
The salaries in Moldovan lei have increased, but now you can buy even more dollars with 1 leu than you used to buy in 2018. The amount of wealth that Moldova accumulated is actually quite amazing, in my opinion.
Is it due to, let's say, governmental / monetary policies, or more like
I don't know.
Moldovans
It could be
saving
that
up?
the you guys got rich despite of the policies from the government, not because of the. I don't know.
It's
about
never
that.
because they
Because
usually are against.
I haven't really done a systematic analysis of whatever the government in Moldova is doing from an economic perspective. But let's say the IT sector has done great.
I've heard they want to slash the 7% tax, but then they change their mind because it's the only thing bringing them money anyway.
Well, there are, of course, a lot of spillover effects from the fact that software engineers like you earn more than an average Moldovan. And then you spend that money. A part of that money is VAT tax. And this is basically how
20%
the government has a little bit of a budget. I would be interested to see what is the percentages of all the revenue of them. But for that, I think you would have to ask Adrian Vrabie, who is now the Minister of Finance. So he should know more. By the way, I was actually trying to convince him in 2016 to join us in the software engineering camp.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't regret not going here.
I mean, being a software engineer is like a blessing and a curse at the same time, because it's like knowing what the sausage is made of, knowing what's under your trunk. It's just amazing to drive a car without knowing what the fuck is going on in the car. The moment you start unpacking it, you realize German engineering is not so good, maybe.
I can tell you
Yeah.
for sure that software engineers in Italy earn less than what the
No,
average,
Italy is fucked. Italy is
than
like
an
the
average
shittiest
software
place.
engineer in Moldova.
No,
That's why
Italy
you
is the
have a lot of
shittiest.
software
Yeah.
engineer coming from Italy to work here in Moldova. They are coming
I mean,
mostly for the monetary thing. I mean,
even
it's
the
because
internet
you
is
can-
shit. Basically, you go to Italy, you're lucky if you like go to like metropolitan areas. The moment you go villages, you're fucked.
I don't know
Yeah.
because I've never lived in Italy, but I can tell you because I have friends that moved from Switzerland to Italy, and you can earn a lot more money in Moldova than you can earn in Italy.
In
as a software
Italy,
engineer. But
software
of course-
engineering is not the business you want to focus on.
But let's be sincere when we talk about the growth of IT. The growth of IT in Moldova grew not because of the government policies, I would say, but despite of it.
Yeah, because we started with
We're not even part of the European Union. So
We
imagine
s-
all the costs that the companies need to also incur, because whatever you are making here is not made in the EU, is made in a third world country.
I mean, technically, we're not the third world country, although I do consider myself.
I mean, from a political perspective, we are. So we need to be aware that we're never going to be Ireland in European Union, right?
Oh, that's
Where-
fair. Yeah.
And if you look at Ireland, right, their GDP is basically has been greatly influenced by the IT. And I think it's the only country that has such a huge discrepancy between GNP, gross national product, and GDP, whatever they make within the country versus whatever the national makes within the country and outside of the world, right?
Yeah.
I would say we are too, although not as much as Ireland is. But we grew because the software that you write or your colleagues write, right, it can be pushed on GitHub on another server in the United States, on Netherlands, Germany,
I
Switzerland,
mean,
and
we always
another
had
countries.
we always had code collaboration tools. I mean, Git has been on the market.
Imagine. Let me ask you a question. Imagine if government could regulate that, right?
Could do what?
Could regulate that. Imagine you could not do a push on GitHub
Yeah.
without some paper from your local government said, yes, you're allowed to do that. If we
I
had
can't
that-
imagine that.
I mean, you can't, but I
Yeah.
can because all the products and all the other services, they need a paper like that. You can't just go and export, let's say, your grain, right? Without having, let's say, a quota from European Union.
You might have
or from
regulation
Moldova as
like
well.
in Russia, for example, where you
Exactly.
have
So the government can regulate exports of goods and services. They cannot really regulate whatever you're doing.
I mean, let's be all the way honest. What goods and services outside, let's say, outstaffing do we have as a country?
I've heard we do some.
I would say none. We
Well, there
we
are some.
import we on average
Yes,
I think it's 80%
we
import.
do
Yeah.
passive loan, this basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever we do, we create those products. Those products are sold or used in other markets. 10 years ago we were doing this because we were cheaper. Now we're doing it because we can.
Yeah. What's the incentive for, let's say, a Western country to come to Moldova and invest, let's say, in the IT sector?
Depends what type of job they're doing, right? We are pretty good in finance.
Because it's true. I remember the times when salaries were really, really cheap here. And
Yes,
now you
absolutely.
have like a minimum threshold, which is way higher.
What was the salary that you wanted to get hired
I
when we were
started-
doing Cobot? And that's not even 10 years ago.
I
Do you remember? Because I do.
I do remember my first salary.
You would better say the truth now to all your
I will say the truth. So
Okay. What was your ideal? Not ideal, but the salary that you aspired to back 10 years ago.
I mean,
If you don't say it, don't.
first of all, I was a junior back then, and I was
Yes.
thinking like one. I viewed everything through the lens, but the like ideal salary I was reaching / aiming towards, I don't even know, like, is it 7, 8, 9 years ago? I think it was like 1.5K a month.
Really? No.
Yeah.
That's not what I remember. That's not what
Maybe
no,
1K,
maybe this is
1.5K.
what the salary that you wanted, but what would have been the salary that you would have agreed?
What would have been probably
Remember what was
500,
our-
700.
What was our hacker earning back then?
I think it was 500.
No, it was less.
It was less.
Yeah, it was less. He was doing a part-time. He was basically
Was
the
it
only one
Yeah,
who had the
300.
job
Yeah.
from all of us. I was just doing, math from as
I
master's.
guess my expectations in my head kind of
Yeah,
grew.
exactly. Because I do remember the figures very well. I'm not going to tell them. They were
Yeah,
much lower,
Yeah.
less than 500.
No, but at
And
the
that
at the
was,
same time,
you know-
the value of money decreased a lot.
Yeah, you
since
could
then.
argue that inflation also
Yeah,
took
yeah,
a little bit of the purchasing power of that US dollar that was 9 years ago. Yeah,
And then the
sure.
theft of $1 billion, which affected drastically the price.
That didn't really affect us as software engineers.
It did kind of, because you have companies that pay you in euros or in dollars.
Exactly. And since $1 billion was taken out of Moldova, it was actually affecting you in a positive way, if you think about it. Because once you take out $1 billion US dollars,
Not
of Moldova,
necessarily, because it
the
affects,
Moldavian leu goes down, not up.
like it might
devalues.
not affect, let's say, the salaries, but it affects your lifestyle, because everything is costing
But that's
you.
exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell you that the theft of $1 billion,
Yeah.
as cynic as it might sound, affected you positively.
Yeah, no, it's true, because
If you take it from a simple demand and
Yeah,
supply thing.
the leu devalued basically, so it kind of makes sense.
It affected the Moldovans who had wages in Moldavian lei,
Either wages or credits.
because we had
Yeah.
like times when 1 lei was 20 lei, or $1 was 20 lei, or even higher. Like the euros went up to the roof in one period of time. There was like a lot of volatility within the market. It wasn't really a good time not to be a software engineer in Moldova.
I think, yeah, like 2018,
2018,
maybe 2019 was like the peak, the
I think in
highest peak.
2018 I left Moldova. So
I think it was the highest peak to be like a software engineer in Moldova.
I think that was the time when the salaries grew the most.
Salaries, demand on the market.
Demand,
After
yes.
pandemic, people like fucking started hiring more than they afforded, more than they needed.
Mhm.
And then you had layoffs, which basically faced the cards off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yep, it was a good time to be a software engineer back then. I think it's still a good time to be a software engineer right now.
I mean, you have to adapt. Inevitably,
Exactly.
it's
But
it's Darwinism.
what is
Yeah.
software engineering about? It's about solving a problem. It's about creating a product that the market needs.
Yeah, we're solving problems through software.
How you solve the problem, management doesn't really care. We care. When we work in a team, we do care how you solve the problem, right? But first of all, you need to solve the problem. This is basically what our consumers
Yeah.
want. They don't care whether you do it in a microservice or in a distributed monolith or in a monolith. They don't really care if you do it in PHP or Java.
Yeah.
They care about the product. They care about their consumption, right? And we are basically serving them. So our salaries will also be a derivative, whatever value we give to society.
No, that's true. Because like I remember when we were even starting, we were always debating concepts, frameworks, libraries, languages. And then the more you grow as an engineer, on the one hand, at the same time with the rise of AI, the more you kind of become more product oriented and you go back to the roots, you go back to the basics. Okay, what are we here for? We're here to
Exactly.
solve a problem. We identify the first of all, we don't identify solutions, but we identify the problem, because that's what happened back in the day. If you remember, like a new technology comes up, you don't give a shit about the problem, you immediately pick up the solution and we'll figure out what the problem is along the way, you know,
Exactly. That was
just for the sake of playing with that.
and that might have been,
But nowadays you have so many databases, so many frameworks, so many languages. Like you have to really niche your problem so very down to a certain particular database, language, and whatnot, because there's so many of them. And that's a good and positive thing overall, because you have a huge choice depending on what problem you have.
Mhm.
But then the burden is you need to really be to develop your problem identifying
You need to
skills.
know, first of all,
Yeah.
what each and every database is good for, what
True,
is
true.
its
Yeah,
strength,
yeah.
what is this, because there is no free lunch. What are the disadvantages when you would use one or another? Whether you use it, to store data, whether you need
read
persistency,
data,
whether you
yeah.
need ACID compliancy, or whether you just need, to fast read something like a cache, right? Like
Yeah.
Redis or stuff.
Yeah.
Which basically gives us, to the first question of how would you create your product in the first thing. And we are basically moving now, from the software engineering ground, just being attacked, by ChatGPT and, gripping away, to how do you actually solve the problem, given your knowledge about architecture, given your knowledge about, object design, domain design, and stuff like this.
Yeah, how do you not cut your own branch as an engineer today with LLMs, with
What do you mean cut your own branch?
I mean, try and maintain a decent amount of job security while at the same time not stay in the comfort zone, because that is a thing.
I never thought about job security, to tell you the truth.
How do you make sure the skills you have now today are not obsolete in half a year,
I
1
don't.
year?
To tell you the truth, I don't.
But what if like you wake up and you immediately become obsolete? Like people just don't require your services.
Well, that's life.
Would you argue you maybe need to be careful and develop some secondary skills and whatnot?
But I never actually took the liberty to or the time necessary to think or to predict what are the skills that we will need tomorrow. I'll see tomorrow what skills are needed. And my trade card is basically
Moldovan
adaptability.
mindset.
Exactly. My card is adaptability, right?
Yeah.
I've changed caps many times. I've never studied software engineering. I studied it because there's demand for it, because I can.
Yeah.
I think it's what is really important when change happens is that you maintain your ability to change, your ability to have, this plasticity of mind. And the younger you are, the easier it is for you
Yep.
to do so. That you would be always willing to learn, to have the grip to study it until the end, to find the kernel, find the root cause things of what the thing is, and then you would apply it. Because one technology disappears, another thing appears. Today's nobody is actually writing code in assembly, or maybe there are some few people that do, but
Yeah.
okay, nobody does that because we have compilers. And none of us complain that, look, we have lost the skills how to think,
Debug memory in
to,
RAM.
to think like a processor does, like to use its direct how's that called, instructions, because if you use those instructions, it is the fastest way possible to do. So we lost so much productivity. Nobody complains about that.
Yeah.
And we all happily use compilers. We all happily use a higher level programming language. And again, AI is just another thing on top of it. I think we are too afraid of ChatGPT, when in fact we should just embrace it and try to squeeze as much juice from ChatGPT as possible. Because at least from my perspective, I have a lot more problems that I need to worry about
Yeah.
than just will my knowledge of the API that I had about Webflux be rendered useful tomorrow?
Yeah.
I hope it is, because who the hell wants to read documentation just to write 2 lines of code?
Yeah.
Nobody. This is painful. And then what you really want to do is go to production with the product, right? And going back to what I said, we just need to use this tool as efficiently as possible.
No, I fully agree with that. And yeah, what about the comfort zone?
Unfortunately, we still need to read documentation because ChatGPT is doing a terrible job with the newest technologies that
you
that
can
I
work
tried
your
to,
way around it.
Let me give you an example. I tried recently to just upgrade from Spring Boot 3 to Spring Boot 4.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, let's just put it mildly. It didn't. And there are so many problems over there. Every time when you ask this problem to ChatGPT, it gives you like bonker answers.
It's always
just not
positive about it, at least.
Yeah, maybe in the future when it will be trained.
On the flip side, if you remember the days of Stack Overflow, you are supposed to be really careful what kind of question you ask.
Yes, because
you were going to be bashed.
Yes.
At least with ChatGPT, there is no such thing as a bad question.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Completely right. I remember the times when we had to like work more and interact more with a lot of people, and it's still important today as it was back then, and something that I really learned the hard way. That just technical skills is not sufficient. You also need to know a little bit of psychology, or at least a little bit of psychology can take you a long way when working with people, or when doing code reviews.
Yeah.
What are these code reviews about? Yeah, it's about ensuring code quality and stuff. But this is really the official statement. What we don't really realize is that code reviews can make bonds or actually can destroy bonds. And I think the later part is more important than the first part. Now with ChatGPT, reformatting your code, telling somebody, oh, you put extra spaces here, oh, you didn't format the code the way I want, or nitpicking or whatever, it's actually counterproductive, right? And you can do that thing with ChatGPT. You write your own ideas, you concentrate on the main idea, you do whatever the things ChatGPT cannot do, and then all the nuances and stuff that was huge quarrels between software engineers before is now gone.
Yeah, the definition of productivity, I would say, has changed a little bit. Because if we as engineer defined productivity a certain way back in the day, nowadays maybe productivity is more in terms of deliverables. Like, what are you delivering? Of course, you still need to think and need to come with educated decisions. At the same time, don't focus too much on routine. Try to outsource that. Do automation. Automate as much as you can.
Automate as much as you can and then debug later.
What about the engineers that oppose change and prefer to live in the comfort zone?
I think this is human nature.
Yeah.
Every change is a little bit painful, right? Especially you don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you would see a lot of people trying to fight the change.
Yeah.
What do I think about them?
Is like, are they doomed? Are they extinct?
I'd rather embrace the change and try to make
because it's Darwinism in a way. If you embrace change, you adapt.
Yeah, you could say something.
If you don't embrace it, you kind of perish in the process.
You
lose your job.
It all depends how much power those software engineers have. I could envision in some cases that they could get away with that because they have like a lot of power over the code, and whatever they are doing or whatever the software is doing is very important. They could basically isolate themselves from change. I can tell you that the banks and financial sector, they've done an unbelievable job of isolating themselves, because I see in code bases, code that was written
in what sense isolating?
Before I was even born, and I'm 40 now, right?
Yeah.
You see like a lot of code is written in ancient programming language like COBOL and stuff.
I heard about stuff like banks having binaries which still are running, and they're still running them because they don't know how they work because they lost the source code.
Well, banks have been for a long time, and GitHub was invented by whom and when, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Banks are like fucking Apple, but for software, like every other company is like moving ahead, and then Apple is like, we actually are supporting Type-C just now. The same goes with like banks. Like software goes so far ahead, and then banks are like, now we're supporting this. Now we're using Git.
Yeah, they like safety. They like security, first of all. They are really, really nuts when it comes about security. I can tell you because I know I've been through it. Think about the security that that we're using every day. Let's say we're using, let's say, Kubernetes. You want to encrypt something, right? You would put a gateway. You would have like cross-cutting concerns. You'd put HTTPS. You'd have like your service registered by a certificate authority, and at the end of the day, you'd have this HTTPS, right?
Yeah.
And you say, "Oh, I'm fine." Banks take it to a whole different level.
Post-quantum algorithms.
If they were available, I think I would have another, task by tomorrow to have this implemented as well. But I'm kidding. But anyway, they do have, for example, MTLS. Think about HTTPS, but from the both sides.
Yeah.
So the way HTTPS works, right, for your viewers, they probably know. But whenever you go to a website, that website needs to be certified by a certificate authority, right?
Yep.
And that certificate authority needs to be known by your browser. Otherwise, say, hey, this is insecure. I don't know this guy. It's a self-signed certificate. And only those certificate authorities that are within your browser, let's say Chrome or Firefox, whatever you're using, only those would be deemed that, okay, this is secure. Now imagine the exact same thing, not only for whatever websites you're using, but also for your clients. Imagine trying to push the exact same thing for your clients as well. Every client that wants to use your service needs to go make a certificate, a private key, a public key, needs to certify this thing. And then when it comes to your microservice or service, whatever, you need to know, this is you, this is Steven, I trust Steven. How many users would you have in real world?
I mean, you have to, like, when it comes to security, you have to kind of compromise between the level of security you have and the, let's say, how easy it is to implement it in practice, because you need people opting into that shit.
Let me stop you here. Sorry, but let me stop. At that bank where I work,
that's why you still have passwords. That's why you still have passwords nowadays.
No, we don't. We don't have passwords. We're trying to
No,
move
I
away
mean,
from
I
it.
mean in general, we have passwords like in
Yeah,
the web and
we
whatnot.
do have passwords in the real
Technically, you
world
could have
because it's easier.
passkeys.
Yes.
You could have all kinds of authentication methods. The passwords are still relevant because humans are humans.
Yes, and this
Yeah.
is basically what at that bank we're going away from. No passwords at all. Imagine
Are you using some
certificate.
kind of YubiKey or whatever?
We're using MTLS, which is mutual TLS.
Yeah.
Of course, it has costs. It's not for free. It's not something that, first of all, it's the cost to the user. He needs to have a certificate, right? And if you're within a company, that's a nuance.
But in what context do you mean they need to have a certificate?
So imagine you have a web client, right?
Yeah.
That you're using in Java, and
Alright.
you want to connect to a service because you need some things done, right? You connect to a microservice and you make a GET request or POST request or whatever.
Yeah.
Your client needs to have a certificate on itself.
But that's standard procedure. Like,
no, that's not.
that
That's
is
not. You
when
as
it
a
comes
client,
to
you can have a bearer token. You can have a
when it comes to
you
any
can have
kind
OS
of
too.
let me maybe like I've worked on a fintech project, and when it comes to integration with any kind of financial systems, typically you need some kind of authentication of this kind.
You can use it as an authentication as well, but you can put authentication on top of it, because we're talking about MTLS, which is
No, even
encryption
just
and-
the bare like
and
API communication.
But you could use this as authentication itself, because if you give me a certificate, I can, let's say, look at the CN and I say, where is the CN? Who is the CN, right?
Yeah.
And I say, oh, I know, this is Steven. Then I can also look at your IP and I can say, wait a second, is this CN, is this certificate and the originator the same or not? So you can have multiple layers of security. You can have a whole new.
No, but I think this is acceptable because you mentioned web client.
But yeah,
Again, these are
even
not.
if you do just MTLS,
These are not end users. These are not the end users. This is a client.
No, we're talking about actually end users that need to have a certificate as well.
Yeah, but they are typically done behind the scenes. Like
No,
if you take,
no,
for
absolutely
example,
not.
your let's say your mobile app for e-banking and whatnot, it already does it for you in the background. Is my point.
No, not really.
Like you don't need to go and like get a certificate, make sure the bank knows about the certificate, and then supply it over.
Well, this thing is not happening in your smartphone.
On your smartphone, it's not even that. I think it's way
You're
simpler.
probably using OS 2 with Pixie and stuff like this.
Yeah, it's simpler.
But if you are
when you're integrating, like you have, for example, a payment processor, you want to integrate with them, that's for sure going to happen. You will need to provide a certificate outside the bearer token and all the authentication which comes on top.
Let me think. The last time I integrated with the third-party payment system, I didn't need that. I needed to be HTTPS.
Again, some need, some don't. Depends what kind of, let's say, functionalities you're planning on using. And I wanted to touch on that as well. I think banks really took it ahead when it comes to e-banking in general. And the amounts of possibilities they give you. Like you can now create online cards, like virtual cards.
Yep.
Like people no longer live in this physical world where you have to go to the bank, you have to fucking wait in the queue, you have to, like, even credit cards are obsolete. You can just put them in your e-wallet.
Yes.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
it's fascinating.
Yeah, there is a little bit of innovation going on the client side as well. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's going to be a little bit more innovation, I think, in the future with blockchain, with allowing, let's say, blockchains to integrate with the banks, or the bank using its authority to.
I would really love to see that more, because like there's countries that embrace that, like El Salvador and whatnot, and there's countries that completely reject the idea of blockchain and crypto and whatnot.
The Switzerland doesn't reject this idea.
Do you have like taxes
Yeah,
on
they
crypto?
have a crypto valley, like a lot of companies doing crypto stuff in one particular canton. You can check it out if you're interested. But yes, they are trying, to innovate in that field. Of course, the crypto valley is also going through.
Yeah, Bitcoin has taken a hit lately.
Exactly. Yeah. But the innovation and the ideas, I think that the good ones, they will persist. We will see innovation in that field. I don't know exactly how that innovation is going to look like because I'm not a visionary. But certainly there's going to be some.
Have you heard
some
of CBDCs?
no, but
Central bank digital coin stuff?
central bank. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That sounds cool.
Not really, because like at least the idea behind is to restrict purchasing, basically. Like it's like a fucking API but for money. You could say who can buy what, how much of that stuff you can buy,
I fail
from
to see the
whom
value
you
of
can
that
buy,
thing,
and shit
because
like that.
I haven't read anything about it. I fail to see the value of that thing. But what I can tell you that in United States, in long time ago, where you had banks, they could print their own money.
They still do.
No, they could print their own money, like
Meaning
legal tender.
their own currency and stuff?
Exactly, like their own currency. They are basically creating money right now through the ratios that you need to
technically banks
keep
don't have money. They create money.
Exactly.
And then the money becomes real once you give it back through the form of
I would disagree. It becomes real.
No, it's not real. If
the
I'm a
moment they
bank,
create
if
it.
I'm a bank and you
Yes.
ask, for example, for $100,
Yeah.
I might not have $100,
Yeah,
but because of fractional reserve banking,
Exactly.
I might say I'm giving you $100, and it
Exactly.
becomes $100 when you give it back to me with interest. And then I get my $100, which is now real, plus the interest, which is my profit.
Exactly.
And that's how they become real. But if you take the whole financial system, it's basically fucked.
But it's based on trust, how much trust you have in that.
And that's why United States can do this, because everybody's using the US dollar to trade.
Not really. I mean, yes, the fractional reserve has its limits as well. It's called the fractional reserve for
yeah,
reason.
But
when talking about like really creating money out of the blue with IOUs, you can create your own IOUs right now. Take a piece of paper.
I can create my crypto coin. It's easier.
And here it is. That thing has a lot of potential in the digital world, because you could create IOUs easier with the banking, in IT, right? You can basically create your own small bank with your own IOUs that you could give to people in Africa to buy your courses online.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then they can pay you back whenever they get a job. So this is like an enabler.
I don't know, like
this I think will happen. It's not yet. I don't know why is it not there yet. Why is it that we don't see more IOUs and stuff? Because most of the crypto things that have been created at the moment were like, please invest into my crypto. I'll give some percentage back.
Crypto originated because of the lack of trust in the government. That's its initial goal. Like, we don't trust how fiat works, so we're going to create something which is private, which cannot be controlled, and which is obviously decentralized.
Well, you might not trust your central bank. You might not trust, another central bank, but do you trust the euros and the US dollars? If I give you 100,
I trust them enough.
Do you trust that you can take this tender and go and buy something on it?
I trust it enough to the point where if it fails, then it fails for the pretty much entire world. That's the level of trust I have in it.
Well, that's not trust.
I don't trust any. I don't trust any central.
But you do believe. Let's say like that. Do you believe that with $100?
Yeah.
You can take it right now. Let's say I give you $100, and you take it right now, and you go and buy something with it online or on the street.
No, but when I say I don't trust it, it's like, let's take, for example, the.
Do you think of trust as preservance of value? Maybe, of course, you don't trust it as that it will preserve this value over a long period of time because of inflation, but it still has value today, and this is basically what matters. If you want to create your own money, you basically the only requirement over there is that it can be used as legal tender and that it has a preservance in the short term.
Yeah, but who gives it power to be a tender in the first place? Like, if
you can give that power to yourself.
Like, if people agree amongst themselves that this is illegal, not even legal, but this is something which we perceive as value, and it's exchanged in a equal way, meaning I can buy goods from you or I can buy other types of coins, then we agree.
I could
we have a
buy
mutual agreement.
hours of code from you.
Yeah.
If that is how we define that money, that's totally
Because
legit.
in the past you didn't have money. You have
It might
goods.
be illegal within a legal system. Let's say it might be illegal to do that thing in Moldova. I don't know. I don't
think
know
it's already
because I'm not a lawyer.
it's already the case. Like that's my point with like crypto. Used to be more liberal, but now it's like restricted. Like banks don't allow you to buy it. If you want to sell it, then you have to do it in a sneaky way. It's like a bit weird when it comes to Moldova in particular because of like political corruption and whatnot.
But you don't need all that because you're looking at that crypto as a way to invest your money to preserve value, right? I will never forget. This is a funny story. I'll never forget when a software engineer, a colleague of mine, very good. He was my dev lead. He bought a couple of bitcoins.
Yeah.
When they were like dirt cheap, like less than $10 per bitcoin.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago. I think it was before 2010.
Yeah.
And he lost the HDD, and he's like, damn it. Well, he would be rich by now. He wouldn't have to work.
Yeah, there's still memes of people like searching the bins.
Probably if I were richer, I would code even more, but I would code basically what I want to code, right? Like,
yeah,
I'd basically code in a way not to write the unit tests and stuff. But yeah,
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we're talking about dangerous territory here. But yeah, talking about money, I think you can just create your own money. I know cases when, let's say, mothers of young children, taking care of a toddler can be as a full-time job. So what they did was that, okay, you take care of my toddlers, then tomorrow I'll take care of your toddlers. They basically created some type of IOUs, which is basically the currency.
That's how people traded back in the day. They had different goods and they just exchanged them.
That's called barter. But barter is a little bit cumbersome because if you have like n number of goods, you have n exponential, right, of how many types of barters you need to do. So that's quite cumbersome and difficult. But if you have like a piece of papers with IOU that everybody trusts, and this is the key, do you trust it? Then it's a lot easier. It's like the oil inside an engine.
Yeah, but technically crypto does the same thing, but then you have Bitcoin and you have shitcoins.
I would agree. At the moment, crypto doesn't do that thing. That's why it's not money.
It's more
crypto
of a Ponzi scheme. Like many coins run on a Ponzi scheme.
Exactly. And you have just too much volatility.
Mathematically, Adam, like I still don't understand how people believe that, because mathematically, not everybody can get rich. If people are investing, then mathematically it's only fair that at some point 90+% will be wrecked and somebody will collect the fucking profits.
Exactly, but you're talking about the Ponzi schemes and the things that pump and dump that everybody's doing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about like a cryptocurrency, let's say within a club. Let's say you want to do a project and you want to code in it, and let's say you somehow get a way to measure the effort that you do in backend, front end, or whatever, or DevOps and stuff. And let's say it's a side project, it's for fun. You could basically use this type of crypto thing to control and to motivate people to work on it. And then you can achieve something because you have a system that would more fairly redistribute the amount of work that software engineers do within themselves. So we're not talking about getting rich. We're talking about, like, let's say, crypto to motivate people to do something, or let's say or to gamify some stuff. You sometimes take courses and you have some silly points over there that you laugh about, but sometimes those points, they motivate you to reach your goals, the same as games.
Yeah.
And if we are to be truthful, we're both software engineers because of games, right? We just had different games to play. But even software engineering as per se is also, I view it as a game. You have a task.
I mean, life is a game. You just have to know the rules.
Yeah, you could view it as well.
Yeah.
Tasks in software engineering is more or less like reaching your goal, just like in a RPG game or whatever games you want to play. If that is fun by itself, What other motivation do you need?
Like in my view, I have two types of work. Like there's work, and there's my work.
Okay.
Like there's the work I'm doing for the clients, and there's the work I'm doing in my free on time where I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy doing both of them. But yeah, I don't know, like it's always work, but I want to kind of lean towards a closing. Not that I don't enjoy talking to you. It's been a wonderful pleasure, and I wish you come more often from Switzerland to do it more often. I'm wondering, is there anything you prefer to do outside work? Like, for instance, the days when you don't think about coding
hmm
and you just prefer to chill. Like, what's your way to chill? What's your definition of chill?
Well, I do chill when I code, right? But that's not really the work that I do.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
when I code, I don't.
Like some people like board games, other people like I don't know, running.
Yeah, board games, they're kind of boring. But yeah, I guess you could say that sometimes they're fun. It depends.
You mentioned
with whom
games. You mentioned games. Do you game?
Of course, yeah. I did game, but I basically have the nostalgia for all the games that I played when I was young.
Like, for example, is it Quake?
Like Command and Conquer.
What kind of Command and Conquer?
Generals.
Do you play AOE, Age of Empires?
I did play Age of Empires, StarCraft.
You should try it now. I'm playing the Age of Empires 4 anniversary edition.
Yeah, I don't know, this genre of games they're called like
RTS?
real-time
RTS,
real-time strategy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, also, yeah, I don't really play modern games. I just sometimes like to.
You mentioned RPGs.
I did like, one particular game actually that I did play a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
That was Jones and the Fast Track. I don't know if you know it. It's a really, really old game. I think it's from the 80s. Well, probably my next hobby will be to try to replicate this game with more modern technologies and stuff like this. But yeah, again, this is going to be about coding.
Have you tried like because I usually don't play RPGs. I'm more of a RTS fan myself.
Yes.
But when I tried, I'm not sure if you tried Black Myth Wukong.
No, never tried that.
Dude, the graphics on that shit is crazy, especially if you do it on
Yeah,
a 5090.
Yeah,
it's insane. Like it's better than a movie, I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you do it on a big enough screen with high enough
And you have
refresh
a
rate.
huge one over there.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Like I just wish I had the time for it, I guess. Also, what's there, like Witcher?
Yep.
That's such a fucking infinite. Like you interact with interact with the grass, interact with the people passing by. Like everything is like infinite there. I couldn't play it, I guess, because of the fact that it's infinite, and I'm more stuck with what's it called, God of War. That's also beautiful, like beautiful cinema.
So you play a lot of RPGs?
I mean, I tried some of them because when you buy a 5090, you kind of have to try it,
Oh, yeah, a 5090.
You don't just spend 3,000 euros for nothing.
I have a 3070 and I bought it like in 2020. So
yeah, it's
maybe 2021.
Cool. It's extremely amazing. I just wish I had more time for it, but yeah.
And the older you get, the time passes a little bit faster.
Oh yeah.
I barely get time, to realize the work is done for the day. Let me just take a small nap and then I have to.
But you also need to enjoy life, I guess.
Oh yeah,
you can't let it pass by,
Exactly, yes. And Switzerland, you can have a lot of activities. Unfortunately, I don't really do any of them. But you can go swim in the lakes during the summer.
Oh yeah, dude,
the
lakes,
hike in the mountains.
That fucking cyan, clear lake, like when I visited, it's just so beautiful and crisp. And
I do love
like it's not the lakes we have in Moldova where it's
absolutely
fucking green and it stinks. Yeah. It's a different kind of green.
So I do enjoy swimming in the lakes in the summers. That's basically the only thing I do over there. I do sometimes hike, but it's not because I want, it's because I'm kind of forced by my neighbors and stuff who are also from Moldova.
Yeah.
And then they say like, it's enough to stay in front of the computer, let's go outside, for which I'm very thankful.
Yeah.
It is. I never get bored. A lot of people say, oh, I don't want to go to Switzerland.
How can you be bored when you're so busy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want over there. But yeah, you have a lot of possibilities. You can just travel. You can go ski right now in the winter. Although this year we don't really have like a lot of snow. but it's possible.
I want to close the show with one last question, which I ask everyone. And the question is, what is your final piece of advice for anyone who's watching? Given your life experience, given your software engineering experience, and yeah, like anyone who's watching, maybe an aspiring software engineer, maybe software engineers that are already in the industry and they
I'm in no position to give advice to anybody because if you look at my life, right, it's probably not the life that you probably want to have.
you'd be surprised
Unless
you'd
you
be
want to have a life
surprised
like I do, right? But
you would be
I can't say
surprised
that.
how many people look up to you without you realizing it.
Hopefully not.
Yeah,
For aspiring software engineers?
because we talked
Keep
about
aspiring.
the good old times.
Yeah,
And-
I think
And I don't know about you, but when I look at my younger self, I
Mm.
sometimes feel like I need more of that energy back because you kind of lose it in the process.
Well, I think this is normal because you get older, right?
Yeah.
But if you're young, you still have a lot of energy. I think it's cool. It's nice. It's a lot of fun to be a software engineer. This should be motivating enough. But you need a lot of grip. I see a lot of people, they just give up
Yeah.
whenever they have some difficulties or the code doesn't work or they don't know how to do. And probably if I would give myself a little bit of advice, I would say learn a little bit of psychology because software engineering is not just working with your computer, with your compiler, or with ChatGPT. It has a lot to do with interacting with people.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I started. And then the moment you get your first project, your first client, it's completely the opposite.
Yep.
Especially when you spend like more than half of your day in meetings.
True. Well,
Yeah.
meetings can be very painful. And we don't consider that work as software engineers, right? I mean, that's what product owners think it is, that the work is to do meetings. A little bit of psychology can get you a long way. And try to be a good person with your
Yeah.
peers.
Yeah.
Try to cultivate a little bit of compassion. Even though if you aspire to be, let's say, in a managing position, that might not be the best advice. Because at the moment, what I see, especially in my industry, a lot of psychopaths
Yeah.
have the highest ranks. They're in the middle management, they're in higher management. And don't be like them. It's not okay. Unless money is the only thing that you see.
Yeah.
Then probably they should read the book Power by Green. Otherwise, probably read it and do the vice versa.
Yeah. Beautiful piece of advice, especially the part with trying to be more kind, more human, in other words. On that note, I will end the show by saying this was my pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been such a while, and we kind of lived our own lives, and time passed by so quickly, like years went by, and I'm really happy to sit down and talk through, and I wish to do it more often. And anytime you plan on making a trip back to the homeland, just let me know.
Then we can discuss about something we didn't.
Yeah. Anytime homeland is in your mind, let me know, because the doors are open.
Let's see what your viewers want. If they want that, we can probably
I'm pretty sure they do. I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let them write it in the comments.
Yeah. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, this was VUnstaged. Keep your mind open and your source unstaged.